He is an immortal and indestructible demon king. Yet he was reincarnated by the gods as humanity's holy son. It turns out that in his previous life, he was lucky enough to win the lottery jackpot, but before he could enjoy it, he discovered he had cancer. However, every cloud has a silver lining. After chewing a clove of garlic, he was reborn as a skeletal monster. From a low-level skeletal monster, he evolved into the immortal king, and he led the demon race to prosperity. His real name is Isaac. Everyone affectionately calls him He is Isaac. His ultimate goal is to become human so he can fulfill his dream of defecating. Thus, Isaac ventured into the divine realm. He once had an agreement with these gods. All he had to do was eliminate the rebel forces opposing the divine realm, and they would transform him into a human. But from the start, these gods had no intention of honoring the pact. They simply had no way to turn Isaac into a human and only wanted to exploit him. Upon learning this, he was furious, exclaiming, "You fools, how long are you planning to deceive me? Even my dream of pooping, something you couldn't even pull off, so you might as well all turn into shit. Alright, enough chit-chat, let's dive into the tale of Isaac's journey to fulfill his dream of defecating." The clear blue sky and the enormous hospital appeared before him. Panicked, he had only one thought: I want to live, I don't want to die. The doctor solemnly announced that his illness had never been detected before, and it will be named after you. After a pause, he continued regretfully, "You have at most 6 months to live." Gripping the medical report tightly, he winced as those words echoed relentlessly in his mind. People around him began whispering at his unusual behavior, yet he only felt emptiness. In disbelief, he wondered why life was so unjust. He had worked tirelessly like a beast just to gain a little stability, and now he was on the brink of death. Wandering aimlessly down the street, suddenly, someone pulled him back, urgently warning him to be careful because this place was very dangerous. But he no longer cared. He collapsed to the ground, letting negative thoughts engulf his mind. Looking at the lottery ticket rolling on the floor, he bitterly thought it was ironic that he had just won the jackpot. He knelt on the ground, trembling in despair, pleading with fate that he still wanted to live, not die. Clutching the lottery ticket tightly, he only prayed for a miracle. But then, the scene around him changed. Despite his desperate pleas to live, he never expected to exist in the form of a skeleton. Looking down at his new body, he could only lament, was it destiny that he had to be reincarnated like this? Even defecation was no longer possible. Just then, a three-eyed monster charged toward him. He drew his sword and roared that he would kill them all. His sword slowly became stained with blood. But then, he realized that a giant was approaching. He immediately took a defensive stance. A powerful blow from the giant sent him flying, but he swiftly counterattacked, pouring all his might into his blazing sword, and shouted, "This damn ordeal must end." At last, the enemy collapsed, and he coldly declared that the suppression of the rebel forces was complete. After his reincarnation, he had become a low-level demon, gradually evolving into the undead king. The chant, Demon King, Immortal, echoed all around. He continued to recount his journey, from reviving an almost extinct demon army over countless centuries to standing before those who once regarded him as their favored one. Although he might have gone bald, now as the Demon King, a servant trembled while calling out his name, but completely mispronounced it. Irritated, he reminded them, "My name is Isaac, not Isaac as you keep saying." But it seemed these folks could never get it right. Not wanting to continue the pointless conversation, he simply told them to take care of themselves. When someone anxiously asked where he was going, he coldly replied, "I'm off to collect my reward." He longed to achieve his ultimate goal, to become human. Turning his gaze toward the heavenly realm, he declared that he had eliminated all their enemies, and by the pact, they were obliged to transform him into a human. But instead of keeping their promise, they hesitated, whispering among themselves that they hadn't expected him to complete the task in such a short time. Some even began scheming about forcing him to work without pay for a while longer. Hearing this, he immediately exploded in anger, shouting, "I heard everything." Then, nearly whispering, he reminded them, "You promised to turn me into a human if I defeated all your enemies." Seeing their continued hesitation, he gritted his teeth and cursed under his breath. At that moment, one of the top figures in the divine realm smiled cryptically and asked, "Could you take on one more task?" His fury erupted, "Even if I'm just a skeleton, you all better know your limits," he roared. "You bastards, forcing me to work like slaves while you still have the means to turn me into a human, isn't that right?" The more he spoke, the greater his fury grew, and now, even when facing deities, he wasn't the least bit afraid. He looked frightened, as if he had suddenly realized something Someone beside him reminded everyone that they should never have trusted him in the first place. That other one, full of arrogance, wondered why they had to compromise with a lunatic like him. Furious, he roared, "All you know is empty talk. Aside from your summoning spells, you can't create or destroy anything. As a soul, he was already incapable of truly living, so if you can't turn me into someone who makes the heavenly realm tremble, then I don't need you at all." They, trembling with fear, quickly begged for more time, promising that if he helped them with a few more tasks, they would grant his wish. But he immediately cut them off, roaring, "To pay for your broken promises, I will take your lives." He threatened, declaring that he would turn you all into dry bones, just like me. Suddenly, his power surged and spread throughout the room. He grinned in satisfaction. But at that moment, something strange happened. He was astonished to realize that his magical power had suddenly vanished, leaving his body completely immobile. The blonde guy standing before him smirked. He declared that once he writes someone's name on a piece of paper, that person will be rendered completely immobile. They all shouted in unison, "Destroy," revealing that this was a high-level sacred technique used to seal disasters like him. They scornfully mocked that an ordinary demon like him should be grateful to serve them. Now, he would have to live a wretched life like a worm. He sneered provocatively, asking, "Can't you choose a hairier worm instead?" He mocked, remarking that he was still obsessed with his hair. Just then, as the light from the paper in his hand flashed, he was dumbfounded, realizing something was amiss. He continued laughing mockingly, declaring that if they wanted to act, they should at least do it faster before he could catch on. Before he could be transformed into a worm, he chose to take his own life. They panicked upon witnessing that mad act, unable to believe he had actually dared to do it. However, one among them remained calm. He confirmed that the ritual was proceeding as intended, meaning that the Demon King's soul had been sealed. When he regained consciousness, he sensed something was different about his body. Instead of being turned into a worm as they had planned, he discovered that he had hands, flesh, and the form of a newborn baby. Around him were strangers who called him a saint. A nurse rejoiced that he had awakened, while others thought he should sleep a little longer. Confused, he wondered who these people were. Could they be his guardians? Had he truly become human? But his suspicion grew as he noticed their enigmatic expressions. One of them spoke cryptically, saying that even though they didn't want to, they had to complete the mission. Before he could understand what was happening, a suspicious baby bottle appeared before him. They gently apologized for forcing him to sleep longer, and then their final words resounded, "May you sleep in peace for 1,000 autumns." In panic, he tried to struggle, but could only burst into tears. He thought, "I just got reborn, and now I'm going to die again." A baby bottle had just been presented to him, but the moment it touched his lips, he immediately turned away, causing those around him to panic. They couldn't understand why he refused to drink. He turned his back, silently thinking that now that he had become human again, there was no reason to drink such a suspicious concoction. Yet, he then wondered, why did he have to become human in the first place? His caretakers appeared perplexed, not understanding why he wasn't behaving like a normal baby. If he continued like this, could he ever sleep peacefully? Someone inadvertently called him Isaac, which startled him. Wasn't that his real name? Yet they mistakenly addressed him as Isaac. He gradually realized the truth. He had been sealed, but for some reason, he was reincarnated into a body bearing his own name. He chuckled coldly, secretly despising those who had sealed him. They thought themselves magnificent, yet were so careless as to fail in confining him. While he was still pondering, a baby bottle was placed into his mouth. He immediately resisted, leaving those around him flustered. They marveled that even as a mere child, he was unexpectedly strong. He thought to himself, "Is this vegetable juice? How awful." He suspected that this might be an assassination attempt using that disgusting concoction. How ironic, after struggling so much to become human, he now had to face this. Elsewhere in the holy palace of the holy nation of Hellan, an old man smiled slyly, confident that the child could not possibly survive. Before him stood Emperor Alexander. The cold-toned emperor asked, "You seem very pleased, old man." The old man respectfully bowed and explained that the Joshua clan had come to deliver their greetings to the saint candidate, for the holy court could not overlook a saint. Emperor Alexander smiled mysteriously and nodded in agreement, stating that since this matter concerned a saint, he would personally inspect it. However, he also warned that if any incident were to occur after handing the saint candidate over to the holy court, it would be most unfortunate. When the servants rushed to his room, they were utterly alarmed. But contrary to their initial worries, the sight before them was astonishing. He was safe and had even sucked on all 15 bottles of vegetable juice. The servants were excited, exclaiming that he ate remarkably well, truly an angel. The old man was stunned, unable to believe his ears. This is absurd, you should have died after drinking that. He was furious, for what was in that bottle was not ordinary vegetable juice, but diet tontai, a highly potent toxin that destroys holy power. Taken in sufficient doses, it would undoubtedly be lethal. But he had already noticed something unusual in his body. He understood that this was not an ordinary poison, but a source of energy that could be transformed into demonic power. He happily accepted it, thinking he never expected his enemy to inadvertently facilitate the absorption of demonic power so easily. So excited, he requested another bottle, much to the surprise of those around him. They smirked slyly, secretly thinking that the more he drank, the happier they'd be, since the effects of this substance wouldn't manifest immediately. But he thought otherwise. How wonderful, once I triumph, I'll absorb all of this demonic power. Deep within the realm of his subconscious, he began to concentrate, condensing the energy he had just absorbed into his mana core. But as the condensation process took place, he unexpectedly discovered something strange. His mana core lacked its usual color, instead radiating a pure white light. He couldn't understand why, but the surge of power far exceeded any of his expectations. He silently wondered how many blessings had been infused into this infant body. If fully harnessed, he could become a monster more powerful than anything he had ever imagined. In the holy court, a piercing shout resounded, an enraged voice bellowed, "Who dares to assert that a saint will rule the holy nation?" It was the archbishop, utterly incensed, declaring that everyone stubbornly insisted their own child was a saint, even those from the most insignificant clans. A senior bishop quickly interjected to calm everyone down, assuring that all the other saint candidates had already been dealt with. The archbishop nodded in agreement but still appeared worried, hinting at some rather unpleasant rumors. These words made the bishop uneasy. Then, with a grim expression, he warned that there was still one saint candidate from the Joshua clan. Upon hearing this, the bishop stuttered, referring to the Joshua clan as a significant force within the court, and explaining that there was nothing they could do about it. However, before he could finish his sentence, the wine goblet in the archbishop's hand fell, cutting him off. The spilled wine all over the floor looked like blood. The priest continued to assert that the child would die as soon as the bishop arrived, and that his only duty was to confirm the death. He emphasized that everything had already been arranged. His expression grew increasingly menacing, and every word he uttered seemed as if he wished to take someone's life. He insisted that the saint must come from the Berit family. Meanwhile, the bishop stood before the child, silently thinking that it should have already died. Yet, right before his eyes, the infant was still alive, causing the bishop to tremble with fear as cold sweat streamed down his face. At that moment, the emperor was also present. He cheerfully patted the child's face and remarked that its radiant blonde hair was exactly the same as that of the nation's founder. When asked about this, the bishop stammered in confirmation that the emperor wasn't wrong. The child, with a dazed look, gazed at them, silently thinking that the man before it was indeed the emperor. He even commented that this child seemed more attuned to the divine than even the current holy emperor, truly a candidate for sainthood in the nation. Hearing this, the child was astonished, gradually realizing that this was why people kept talking about the saint. Meanwhile, the bishop felt uneasy too, silently thinking that if the emperor had favored this child from the start, things would only become more complicated. Not wanting the situation to continue as it was, the bishop proposed that the child be taken into his care. The emperor then asked for an explanation. The bishop claimed something was amiss. After all, a newborn couldn't possibly drink so much vegetable juice. However, the emperor retorted that it wasn't unusual for a saintly candidate to consume the church's provisions. The baby, lying in its crib, silently thought that it was absurd for someone originally the demon king to become a saintly candidate. The bishop persisted, insisting he wasn't yet sure and hoped the emperor would hand the child over for care. But the emperor replied that someone from the Joshua family would be arriving soon, so the matter could be postponed. While the two were still arguing, the baby suddenly sensed an odd aura emanating. It quickly covered its mouth, worried that it was the dark mana it hadn't yet fully digested. It involuntarily scanned the surroundings to check if anyone had noticed. The bishop, however, did not abandon his intention to approach and asserted that he had just sensed a stream of dark mana emanating from the child. His face immediately shifted into a look of suspicion, as if he sensed something was wrong. Upon hearing this, the child panicked, silently thinking that it had been discovered. The bishop continued, claiming that the child might merely be a failed candidate tainted with dark power and should be immediately reported to the exorcist. The child, furious upon hearing this, silently cursed inwardly. The emperor, unable to hide his anger, roared, "How dare you speak like that about such a precious saintly candidate?" However, the bishop remained calm, asserting that the emperor need not worry, since the Holy Church had decided to choose a candidate from the Berit family as the next saint. Hearing this, the emperor grew wary, silently thinking that the bishop intended to elevate someone from his own family as the saint, a truly shameless act. The child, also incensed, realized that this was exactly why the bishop wanted to eliminate it. The bishop then ordered that the child be taken immediately to the exorcist, while the child could only helplessly mutter curses under its breath. At that moment, the emperor reminded everyone that the Joshua family was a close ally of the court, and in his capacity as emperor, he believed that the child still needed to be examined. The bishop replied that he understood. But he also reminded that the crown prince's blessing could only be granted after a saint was chosen. This remark left the emperor momentarily stunned, prompting him to ponder more deeply about the situation. He silently thought that if he did not support the child chosen by the Holy Church, they might very well refuse to bestow the blessing upon the crown prince. He wondered if this was truly the church's will. Meanwhile, the child grew increasingly furious, inwardly cursing those who only chased after money. It worried that if they discovered its true identity, everything would become extremely complicated. Yet its eyes continued to watch everything around. The elderly bishop declared in a firm tone that, if necessary, they could immediately verify matters using his exorcism power. However, he paid no attention to the baby bottle in the child's hand, while the bishop was still babbling, explaining that if the kid were human nothing would happen, but if it were a demon, catastrophe would strike instantly. A loud noise suddenly erupted. In the blink of an eye, the bishop was struck straight in the face by the baby bottle, sending him sprawling to the ground. He instantly lost consciousness, his teeth knocked out and raining down like raindrops. The child maintained its innocent expression. Its small hand continued to shake the bottle as if nothing had happened, simply thinking that it should just keep acting like a normal baby. The bishop, beaten to the point of swelling, glared angrily at the child and exclaimed, "With just a bottle, you've caused such horrendous damage." Yet, those around paid him no mind. They were all busy praising the child, amazed by the radiant light emanating from it and thinking that it must be holy power. Surely, this child was destined to be a saint. Though the child's face remained innocent, inside it was troubled. It could sense a holy power within its body, yet it wondered what the true source of that power was. Not wanting to dwell on it further, it happily shook the bottle once more. Then it directly delivered another blow to the bishop's cheek. It wanted to see what else the old man was capable of. The bishop, reeling from the blow and in panic, shuddered inwardly, constantly wondering if this was some kind of dark magic. In response to this series of actions, the emperor burst into hearty laughter, and the surrounding guards grew excited. Isaac was immensely thrilled, repeatedly striking the bishop's face while simultaneously increasing the hardness of his weapon. "I must use normalization magic to harden this bottle even further, and then act like an innocent, naive baby," he thought. "How about that, you dog?" he sneered, being continuously hit in the face, as if even snakes and tigers were collapsing to the ground. Witnessing this, the guards couldn't help but exclaim, "That snake-hearted fellow is clearly awed by his holy power." He looked at his weapon and kept wondering, "What is this? Although it's weak, whenever I use dark mana, every divine strike that follows comes with it. These two forces are clearly complete opposites. How can they possibly be used together? It must surely be related to that white mana core." Just as he was about to stun him further, the bishop raised his hand, grabbed the baby bottle, and glared at him in furious indignation. He snatched the bottle and hurled it forcefully to the ground, then turned to the emperor and shouted, "I swear by all I have, this child is a heretic. We must immediately perform an exorcism ritual." Hearing these words, Isaac couldn't help but feel annoyed with that stubborn bastard. Then he slipped his hand into his coat. "I wouldn't normally do this, but it seems you've got something interesting here," he remarked. He produced from within himself a pair of severed hands, around which emanated a deep, mysterious, and terrifying purple aura. Seeing this, the bishop was utterly terrified, his face darkened with fear. That hand was the remnant of a colossal high-level demon, a creature capable of absorbing the life force of its own kind, which he kept with him in case he was pursued. He was terrified. How could this kid possibly know about it? At that moment, a mischievous glint appeared on his face. In the blink of an eye, he tossed the severed hand behind him. "Look closely, you dog. If you keep your eyes on me, don't say I didn't warn you." As the strange demonic hand just touched the ground, Isaac struck. His action caused the severed hand to transform into an enormous demon, which left the bishop utterly terrified. A demon, after all, came the unspoken thought. Meanwhile, Isaac appeared extremely smug, leisurely watching that massive creature. Suddenly, in the shrine chamber, a bizarre dark figure appeared, a shadowy entity with fierce red eyes and razor-sharp claws. Everyone in the room, with their weapons at the ready, was astonished, shouting, "How can a dark shadow appear here?" Unable to contain his panic, the emperor urgently demanded of the bishop, "Master Belit, explain quickly, what's a demon doing inside the shrine? Has anyone lost their mind?" The bishop was also terrified, his face completely drained of blood. "Can't you see, this child just retrieved a relic?" That young master is astonished. Relics are items associated with fallen demons. How could it possibly resurrect a demon instantly? The emperor immediately commanded his royal knights, "Everyone, listen up, quickly, protect the child from that wicked demon," and the bishop, all the soldiers and acolytes obeyed in unison. One of the royal knights rushed forward and snatched the child from the bishop's arm so swiftly that the man didn't even have time to react. "What's going on here?" After being carried off, the boy turned his head to glance at the crowd encircling the damned demon. "Damn, you pathetic wretch, how despicable, heh heh. Let's see just how powerful this bishop really is." The demon suddenly murmured, "Holy, holy man." Then suddenly roared, "Kill the holy man." The boy was left dumbfounded. What on earth was happening? The demon shouted once more, "Kill the holy man," as it lunged toward the boy. The royal knights immediately advanced to block the boy's path, gripping their razor-sharp swords to protect the young master. Meanwhile, the boy was perplexed, wondering, "I'm the one who resurrected it, so why is it targeting me?" Forget it. With holy knights at his side, what was there to worry about? No sooner had he thought that than one of them was felled by the demon, collapsing to the ground in agony. The boy hadn't expected them to fall so quickly. Are they really holy knights after all? The demon continued its advance, striking at him while proclaiming, "You must kill the holy man to rescue the imprisoned king." One by one, the royal holy knights were struck down. The knight holding the child grew increasingly terrified, clutching him so tightly that the boy was nearly smothered. "Hey, I've got to hold him back. No one's going to notice my mana in all this chaos, right?" The demon, in a frenzy, charged its target, to kill the boy, while the boy resolutely stared back at it. "Why is it that in this life, so many want to kill me? I saved you, and now you're turning on me." His eyes turned icy, unleashing streaks of blood. That ungrateful little demon. In an instant, the demon was intimidated by his aura. A burst of golden light suddenly emanated from him. The light grew increasingly intense, completely overwhelming the demon. The radiance from him left everyone around utterly astonished by his immense power. It was as if the light possessed miraculous power, overpowering the demon entirely, instilling such terror in it that it tried to flee. The demon transformed into a wisp of black smoke and fled. "The demon's running," someone shouted. Inside the shrine, everything returned to normal. "Holy power is holy power, isn't it? Sir Isaac has defeated a high-level demon. Truly impressive. He's so young, yet undeniably a young master." Everyone didn't hold back their praise. Looking at his small hands, one would never have guessed, "Oh my, he truly possesses holy power. How could this be? Mine is completely depleted. No way, has this strange body transformed my mana into holy power? Hold on, then how can I absorb 10 dark mana here? This holy nation is already so lacking in dark mana." Meanwhile, 2 royal knights escorting the bishop shouted, "Let me go, you fools." He roared in anger, "That brat is a heretic, he's used the power of demons, a demon, and dares to set foot in the holy nation. Sir, allow me to show you, I will perform an exorcism ritual to expose its true form." The emperor intervened, "That's enough, bishop, you dare slander an innocent candidate for sainthood as a heretic, and you even released a high-level demon in front of the royal holy knights." The emperor emphatically declared, "Even if you belong to the church, don't think I'll let this slide." Knowing he couldn't change the situation, the bishop secretly began to scheme. The seed of doubt had already been sown in his mind. Soon, he would unmask the traitor. If that were to happen, it would severely damage the church. Even if it costs my life, I must save my family. Therefore, while he was calculating his next move, he simultaneously formed a hand seal to summon a white wolf with sharp fangs and fierce red eyes, hoping to at least neutralize the candidate for sainthood. The massive white wolf charged toward the boy. The white wolf with its huge body is charging toward you. Contrary to the panic of the knights nearby, the stubborn kid remained remarkably calm. At last, he revealed his true nature. Did he really think he could kill me with that feeble attack? As the wolf advanced closer and closer, you suddenly realized, "Oh, I'm completely out of mana." Suddenly, a blue light appeared in the room. That light attacked the wolf from all directions, making it howl in pain. Then, a cold and imposing voice boomed, "How dare you lay a hand on the offspring of the Joshua clan?" A young noble, Ngo Tuan Tu, draped in a blue cloak, stepped in, followed by several others clad in blue cloaks, all exuding an air of imposing dignity and refined elegance. These are the knights of the Joshua clan, led by the seventh son of the clan. As soon as the prince of the Joshua clan entered, he ordered, "Arrest that bishop immediately." "Let me go, you Joshua clan dogs, how dare you lay a hand on me, bishop, resist." Meanwhile, young Isaac off to the side was thinking, "Hold on, Joshua, Joshua. I swear I've heard that name somewhere before." Then the prince ordered his knights to show their reverence. All the knights of the Joshua clan knelt in unison, exclaiming, "Hail, young master of the Joshua clan." Turning to the boy, the prince apologized, "Sorry for being late." Isaac, observing the prince's majestic demeanor, couldn't help but think that, with such solemnity, he must be even stronger than the royal knights. "I can't say this is to atone for past mistakes, but here's a small gift I wish to give you." As he spoke, the prince ordered a knight to fetch something from his pocket, a dazzling object. "Oh, gold, a gold ingot." The knight presented it, saying, "This is a model of the demon king Kolao, who was executed." Upon hearing the introduction, Isaac froze. Before he could even recover, they began competing. "We even have a model of him being burned alive, or would you prefer the one where he's crushed? You getting so dazzled? Our young master is just too adorable, how can he be this cute?" Isaac was about to burst into tears. "How am I supposed to survive in this lunatic clan? Everyone around me is still making a ruckus. When will it ever end? Look at how he savors it, it's so adorable, he likes it so much he's even moved to tears." Suddenly, you remembered something. "Hold on, Joshua, Joshua." Then it hit you, the saintesses had once tried to defeat me. You recalled past battles. A girl once declared, "I am Exo Joshua, the 45th saintess." Another girl said, "I am Ox Joshua, the 61st saintess." You have no right to know my name, you should already know, they are all from the Joshua clan. Damn it, I'm not only a saint candidate but also born into a saintess clan. What sin did I commit in my past life to suffer this now? Suddenly, someone shouted, "Damn those Joshuas." One knight, holding the bishop tightly, shouted, "How dare you shut your mouth, give me the bishop's name." He continued cursing, "I knew from the start you were heretics, where the hell did you pick up that creature? I will unmask your true identity," he snarled. As a sword began to be drawn, he continued hurling insults, "I never expected you to dare bring that monster with you. Has the Joshua clan fallen so far? I will definitely annihilate the Joshua clan, all of you." No sooner had he finished speaking than a slash cut across his temple, and blood immediately began to spurt. The prince of the Joshua clan sheathed his sword and said, "You should be grateful for the mercy of the Joshua clan. Thanks to that, we didn't behead you." Isaac muttered, "This guy seems useful, willing to attack the bishop just to badmouth his own clan. If he had a valid reason, he might even dare to strike the entire sanctuary." The nearby knights tried to reassure the young master, "Sir, you needn't listen to such words, just focus on the good news." But Isaac ignored them, thinking, "Damn it, none of these idiots are of any use. I think I remember them now, Joshua Ton Sack, they were once extremely formidable foes. My former minions would shudder at the mere mention of Joshua Ton Sack, yet they continue teasing Isaac non-stop. Behead the demon king Kolao, chop him up, stop it already." Damn, Isaac wanted to scream. "Since the emperor has just spoken, I will not forget this debt of gratitude. By the way, while we're on the subject, could you speak with your clan's leader about the royal family's wish to foster this child?" The prince of the Joshua clan replied, "Your Majesty, please don't joke." Whoa, my eyes are lighting up. Am I really being noticed by the royal family? Hoang, to convince both the inner and outer forces of the Holy Kingdom to target this young noble, you must have noticed this already, right? Of course, the Joshua family is by no means weak, but are you sure that your current pure faith is strong enough to protect this child? The prince hesitates for a moment. "Isaac, what's all this fuss about? What are they discussing?" The emperor continues, "Especially considering that even the divine emperor refused this child, the boy who shares the same hair color as the founding emperor. Moreover, perhaps even the dry demon king is chasing after the boy." Upon hearing this, Isaac was startled. "Wait, I'm the dry demon king, why would I have to chase myself?" The prince, holding Isaac's arm more tightly, said, "Please forgive me, Your Majesty, since this child belongs to the Joshua lineage, we will raise him as a member of our family. Whether it's the divine emperor or the dry demon king, the Joshua family is fully capable of handling them." Actually, I believe that the former Saintess Melissa would be overjoyed to meet the esteemed Dry Demon King again. The Emperor was at a loss for words. I believe so, too. The prince continued, so how can we agree to entrust the direct offspring of Saintess Melissa to the royal family for nurturing? Isaac's old acquaintance interjected, wait, Melissa. My final enemy before I launch my attack on the celestial realm is Melissa. She's the most stubborn and deranged saintess I've ever faced. Not only was I born as a candidate for sainthood in a saintess family, but I am also the direct descendant of Melissa. What the hell is happening in this life? Saintess means that after being defeated countless times by the Dry Demon King, they decided to create the ultimate weapon, a saintess. Saintess, rise up, the Dry Demon King must be killed. A staff created by the gods to punish evil, a holy aura, a battle deity of light in the Holy Kingdom, and the highest title awarded to a knight. With the overwhelming combat power of the saintesses, everyone believed that the Dry Demon King would soon be defeated. Their offense and defense rivaled divine survival instincts, and their relentless, selfless attacks, carried out by beautiful, mighty, long-lived individuals, seemed unstoppable. However, the Dry Demon King was extremely ruthless. Isaac recalled, I've never killed a saintess before, killing them only puts me at a disadvantage. Once a saintess dies, all her holy power returns to the deity and is then used to nurture future saintesses. Yet, the final saintess, Melissa, is truly powerful. Who would have thought that Melissa was my ancestor? The prince continued, a saintess exists with no desire other than to see the Dry Demon King's death. The Joshua family is the only one that has produced saintesses, and our sole mission is to defeat everything that opposes the deity. I am certain that the Joshua family can fully protect this child. The emperor falls silent in deep thought. The knights of the Joshua family added, that's right, do you know how many saintesses have perished at the hands of the Dry Demon King? Isaac frowned, has anyone done anything, has anyone even touched him? Still accusing, one said, the Dry Demon King once imprisoned a saintess in a labyrinth after deeming her unworthy of his presence, and even a saint died from despair. Isaac felt it was unfair, we let her go, so how was I supposed to know she'd be so lost? Damn it, she should have been taken to the infirmary in the first place. The prince reassured, don't worry, if you're cursed, we'll do everything to protect you. Isaac, clenching his chest in anger, thought, I am the one who cannot accept that. He continued, lifting Isaac up, we are very grateful for your birth, your parents only wished for one thing from you. With eyes filled with hope, he added, we only hope that you will not grow up to be like that wicked Dry Demon King. Isaac scowled. Oh, my unknown progenitors, I'm sorry for shattering your hopes and dreams. Hoang persisted, please reconsider, the progenitor, the Dry Demon King, was sealed 155 years ago. Isaac then realized, has it been that long already? Wait, does that mean Melissa has already passed away? She's been 50 years old since our last battle. During that time, the demon clan began expanding their forces. Having a saint by their side would be the perfect opportunity to enhance the Holy Kingdom's influence. Therefore, this young noble is extremely important to the royal family. However, as of now, there isn't a single saintess from the Isaac lineage. It's been over a year since the saintess who bore this child vanished along with her husband. Isaac gasped in astonishment, my mother is a saintess. But the prince of the Joshua family dismissed it entirely, even though my elder brother isn't here, the lady of the house is exceedingly powerful, the Joshua family can absolutely protect this child. Isaac, cradling his head, thought, there's nothing that can surprise me anymore. What could be more astonishing than my mother being a saintess? Not so, the Lady Melissa is currently on her way to exterminate the Dry Demon King's minions. She'll return soon, and the lady of the house will undoubtedly be overjoyed to see her grandson. Isaac lowered his head in pain. She's over 200 years old, yet she hasn't died. Well, it will be a while until Melissa returns. It seems the child is worried, but the boy will be fine. He'll soon be fine. Isaac, sweating profusely with bloodshot eyes, thought, will I really be okay, with my eternal enemy still alive? Gritting my teeth like this, the moment Melissa finds out that I'm going to be burned on a stake, it wouldn't matter if it were someone else, but Melissa is the last person I'd ever confront. Isaac clutched the Emperor's hand tightly in order to survive. Putting on his cutest face possible, he pleaded, oh, Your Majesty, please take me with you. Oh, this child. The two of them tussled once again. Isaac thought, look, even the boy wants to return to the royal family, he's just being a little too friendly, Your Majesty. The Emperor pulled Isaac closer. The royal family can provide many things for the boy, even though the Joshua family specializes in producing saintesses. they don't have much experience nurturing saints. The prince, unwilling to concede, said, "This child was destined to be an exorcist knight, and no family is better than the Joshua family at training exorcist knights, Your Highness. Moreover, he is the first saint born in history. Isn't it true that the royal family also lacks experience nurturing saints?" Both sides struggled fiercely. Is the royal family better or the Isaac family? No, the Isaac family is better. Isaac, exhausted, exclaimed, "Oh my God, stop it, the knights are already intervening, please, calm down. If we keep this up, in 2 days these young nobles will tear each other apart." Trapped in the middle, Isaac pleaded helplessly, "We'll go with the royal family, so please stop, I don't want to die. Besides, light shines upon life. That light continuously radiates from the Emperor, which means I'll have a better chance of surviving if I follow him. I can't afford to miss this opportunity." The Emperor, clearly pleased, couldn't hide his smile. "A wise choice, my child." Isaac's eyes lit up. "Here is." In another scene, in a deserted area, someone remarked, "No way, I'm certain it used mana." "I'm convinced that the child is a demon spawn," declared the bishop standing before a mysterious group. "Is that man the leader of the holy force, personally appointed by the deity? So the one speaking to me, does the demon clan now wield holy power?" Drawing his sword, the bishop said in fear, "But I'm certain that is mana. How could I possibly confuse mana with holy power?" The leader responded coldly, "The holy court has issued its final verdict on your statement." The head priest of the church, after finishing his sentence, swung his sword, the blade slicing into his aorta as blood sprayed everywhere. The executioner, his eyes bloodshot, read the punishment, for the crime of profaning the divine. Another voice proposed, "I'll go gather an attack team." "Not necessary, anyway, the emperor will take the child with him. Since there are still plenty of opportunities within the royal territory, we'll plan for that later." Trapped in a pressure cooker, Isaac's ears began to itch. If anyone mentions him again, this time that brat is sure to die. In the murky darkness of night, a group clad in black cloaks gathered in a corner of the courtyard. Amid the howling winds, they all awaited their leader's decision. After a moment of thought, he smirked wickedly. "Anyway, the emperor will take the child with him. Since there are plenty of opportunities in the royal territory, we'll plan for that later." A faint whistle affirmed, "This time, that brat is definitely going to die." Meanwhile, Kim Isaac, still unaware that someone cared for him, lay dazed when he suddenly felt a slight itch in his ear. From Kim Isaac's perspective, peering through the window beside the child's bed, the sunlight outside was dazzling, and the sky seemed wider than ever. He scratched his ear, his bloodshot eye squinting as he murmured, "Right now, I'm heading towards the Joshua estate." From high above, one could easily see a luxurious carriage escorted by armored knights riding in perfect formation. The group in black from last night, now clad in mourning, looked down in bewilderment at the scene. All their eyes quickly turned toward their leader, seeking an explanation. "Wait, Your Excellency." The story then shifted back a few days. Inside a room, a dazzling light appeared, captivating everyone's curiosity. That light was. At that moment, Kim Isaac was being held by Alexander Heathcliff Heller, his eyes so tightly bound that he had to raise his chubby hands to cover them. Confused, he muttered, "Why am I tied up like this? Hey, my eyes." Riley Joshua quickly interjected, "Yes, Your Majesty, Joshua, this isn't exactly a good place to raise a child." He bowed respectfully and said sincerely, "Perhaps you think this place is nothing but a graveyard of demon clan corpses and mana cores." Kim Isaac was equally astonished, exclaiming, "The primordial will to survive is that intense." From Reli Joshua's hand, a dazzling halo emerged. Yong, his voice softening, added, "The most valuable thing in Joshua is none other than the corpse of the Dry Demon King." Upon hearing this earth-shattering news, Kim Isaac's face went pale, his mouth agape as he imagined, "My body, you all are holding my body." Inside, he was screaming so intensely that he should have spoken up sooner. Kim Isaac quickly reached out his small hand to grasp Riley Joshua's, causing him to momentarily stop mid-sentence. Still, Joshua managed Kim Isaac's face lit up with excitement as he waved his hand energetically, drawing everyone's attention. The little child expressed his delight in his own adorable way. Unable to resist the cuteness, Riley Joshua raised his hand to cover his mouth in emotion. Isaac. Back in the present, Kim Isaac lies lazily gazing out the window, his mind a tangle of thoughts. Even though he was dragged from the royal family and forced into the army, if he wants to regain his body, he has no other choice. His thoughts quickly drift to the image of a fearsome, withered skeleton clutching a magical orb, a body whose arcane power I've honed to rival that of the gods. If I can reclaim it, even level 10 will be nothing. Recalling the dazzling light summoned by Riley Joshua, he becomes even more resolute in his decision. After all, it's the first time I've seen such a brilliant light born from the sheer will to survive. Following Joshua will greatly benefit my survival. On the carriage of the golden-haired knight, someone is buzzing with curiosity. Why are the papal forces chasing young Master Isaac? Hearing this, Kim Isaac quickly clings to the edge, eavesdropping. I wonder why they are so panicked, he thinks. Riley Joshua doesn't hold back and speaks plainly. Because they've received a prophecy from the gods, they said that a saint will become the child of the divine. The two inside the carriage continue chatting, unaware of his eavesdropping. So that man will be the next pope. That's why they attacked Belit. They wanted a saint. Kim Isaac's chubby face fills with disdain. Where is this bizarre turn of events heading? He quickly recalls a few details. The pope is capable of using level 10 holy magic, the most powerful among the clergy. To all the priests and holy knights in the holy nation, he is like a king, a man whose authority rivals that of an emperor. While sprawled out, Kim Isaac muses deeply. For thousands of years, Belit has produced popes, so they are naturally alarmed at the thought of a saint snatching that power away from them. No wonder every other clan wants to produce a saint too. At that moment, murmurs and exclamations arise outside the carriage, drawing the attention of both parties. He quickly peeks out and asks the coachman, "What's happening?" The flustered coachman removes his hat and replies, "Young Master Riley, we've arrived at the principality, but there's a small problem." In the distance, behind the coachman, the silhouettes of 3 gate guards can be seen slowly advancing. One of them, seemingly the leader, raises his hand to stop them and announces, "I'm sorry, but you are not allowed to enter the principality." Sensing the tension, Kim Isaac peeks out again. "What now?" Riley Joshua bellows angrily, "Do you not recognize the insignia of the Joshua clan? What sort of education have you received?" The lead guard smirks, revealing sharp fangs, and hisses, "Of course you cannot enter." No sooner had he finished speaking than he lunges forward, his hand morphing into claw-like talons, ready to strike. "We must eliminate that child, the heir to the capital's bloodline." Witnessing this transformation, the knights are horrified. Kim Isaac, who had been eavesdropping, is startled. "What the hell is this? I was certain I ordered them not to attack human territory. What on earth is the new Demon King up to?" A red-haired demon laughs wickedly, points, and declares, "Listen here, you miserable humans, our revered king has ordered the execution of all saints and holy women without hesitation." At this, Isaac is left speechless. He immediately realizes that the new Demon King has ascended. The red-haired demon drones on, "In the name of our great Demon King, the venerable King Isaac, we shall exterminate the saints." Hearing these booming words, his round face twitches as he mutters under his breath, "By the monkey's name, since when did you idiots get so stupid?" All the demons, suffused with demonic aura, begin to brandish their claws in threat. "If you let that child live, His Majesty, the Demon King, might spare you." Before they can finish, a bolt of lightning strikes, instantly turning one of the demons to gold and leaving the rest frozen in place. After the lightning's flash, that demon is reduced to a heap of charred flesh collapsing to the ground. Though terrified, one demon grits his teeth and dares to threaten the lowly holy knight. Riley Joshua grits his teeth and seethes. "How dare you speak that way to a demon of the Joshua household? Clearly, you'd prefer not to die." He draws his sword and points it straight ahead, his face hidden in the darkness and unreadable as he commands, "Listen here." Riley Joshua swiftly flips his hand holding the sword and calmly declares, "To protect all that is precious in this world, the Joshua clan will eradicate all evil." The knights promptly draw their swords, mimicking Joshua's stance, their resolve mounting. Once everyone agrees, he shouts, "We will pursue you to the ends of hell to exterminate your kind." The wind tousles Riley's hair as a sharp glint flashes in his eyes. With a mocking tone, he says, "I can't believe that wicked Demon King, what a despicable wretch, to even deploy his minions." The demonic horde, not yet having seen their comrades' corpses or shed a tear, charge forward with all their might. "How dare a lowly human like you?" The lizard demon snarls, slashing at his mouth, and, in a fit of fury, spits insults at Demon King Isaac for the resurrection of His Majesty Isaac. The knights of the Rotsua clan show no sign of hesitation as they quickly draw their swords to block the golden-haired knight, then swiftly grab Kim Isaac and cover his eyes. He reacts immediately. Kim Isaac jumps to another spot, though he narrowly escapes the peril. He doesn't forget to quickly apologize. "I'm sorry, young master." Kim Isaac is whisked away at an incredible speed on a rapid retreat, still dazed and barely recovering. What's going on? Is someone impersonating me? He wonders. The golden-haired knight quickly escorts Isaac to a secluded corner of the forest before coming to a stop. He promptly sets him down on a patch of grass and gently instructs, "Please wait here." The golden-haired knight swiftly uses magic to conjure a protective barrier around Isaac, promising, "I'll be back shortly." Isaac is utterly astonished by the intricacy of the sealing barrier. Isaac extends his chubby hand and silently muses, "Not even a high-level demon can break through this, it's truly formidable." After a brief inspection, he reveals a refreshed face, clearly satisfied that nothing from the outside can intrude, and nothing from inside can escape. After thoughtful deliberation, Isaac decisively closes his eyes and concentrates his spirit. If that's the case, then let the will to survive unleash its magic. The space around him swiftly transforms into a fantastical scene, a starry expanse teeming within his consciousness. "Hear my call, you who were forged by magic yet endowed with intellect," a voice resonates. Muttering softly, the observer remarks as a dark figure with an unassuming form appears. But just as it begins to speak, it vanishes, leaving only a mischievous charm and an oddly endearing look. "My dear Master Isaac," it says. Isaac quickly covers its mouth, and it replies, "Millimeter, millimeter, I know, it's been ages, hush now, or you'll be snatched away." The observer quickly expresses its longing. "I had thought I'd never again behold your magnificent visage, I truly believed my fate was sealed without you." Gazing at the dark mists merrily singing, Isaac ponders and softly whispers, "Although it's merely a tracking spell, it has developed its own consciousness. I created it because manually tracking and analyzing is too cumbersome. Along the way, it has developed a personality, albeit a rather naive one." The observer chuckles and interjects, "Your cruelty remains as vast as ever. Congratulations on seizing the body of an utterly innocent child." Feeling deeply offended, Isaac retorts. The observer, with a tone of boredom, circles around and inquires, "But what did those filthy deities do to your master? No matter how wicked he might be, I cannot believe they'd confine him within the sordid vessel of this child." Not wanting to continue this topic, it dismisses the matter and resumes scanning for enemies. Turning serious and retracting its earlier smirk, the observer states, "Enough of that, let us begin." Immediately, it conjures a vortex of demonic aura and dashes forward. "Now, I will scan within a 100-meter radius." Using its power, the observer quickly reports, "There are 8, yes, 8 enemies, all monsters. Such creatures can never compare to my great master." Hearing this, Isaac is astonished, nearly cursing. "Wait a minute, 8, are they gearing up for a fight or what?" Amid his confusion, he suddenly realizes, this will be a huge nuisance. If the territory's defenses grow stronger, summoning my subordinates will be even tougher. Things are already cramped. I must finish before the Joshua clan catches up. Isaac falls to his knees, resolute. "Even if I have to expend all my stored mana, I must do this myself." Noticing his master's helpless state, the observer steadily announces, "There are currently 15 enemies." Then it quickly updates, "The number of enemies is rapidly decreasing, now only 3 remain." Isaac is startled. "What? Suddenly, it dropped like that?" Fulfilling its role as a reporting device, the observer updates again, "Now there are 13. Young master, something is approaching." Riley Joshua is likewise taken aback and rallies his entire defensive formation. Just as the battle rages on, the demons scramble over. Upon arrival, only the final 4 remain. "You've finally arrived, brother," one of them exclaims. The lizard demon sticks out its tongue and, with a wicked grin, urges, "Come on, let's attack together." The observer lowers its face, its expression unreadable, and mumbles repeatedly, "Today, we shall take the lives of the saints." Before the lizard demon can finish its sentence, it delivers a chilling blow to the abdomen, causing the others to flinch. Only Demon King Kola remains to assess the situation. The Joshua Knights, witnessing this, are struck dumb. Every face turns pale and ashen. The observer chuckles wickedly, declaring, "There are no more enemies left." At that moment, it quickly changes its report. In the distance, a group of knights is now facing off against a giant demonic beast. "I've detected a ghostly lick." The ghost bellows in fury, "How dare you lay your filthy hand upon my king? Prepare to meet your end." Seeing this, Isaac's face twitches in disbelief, as if he cannot comprehend the unfolding events. What is he now, he wonders. The primordial entity emits eerie, unearthly sounds. "How dare you touch my king with your filthy hands? Surrender your life." Isaac watches in horror. What's happening to him now? His face has gone pale. Then, the entity's eyes flare up as it rasps, "My king, my one and only master." The entity's murderous aura intensifies as it roars, "How dare you devour him within the body of a lowly child?" Because Kim Isaac was the one who freed it, all the warped affections that the dark forces harbored for him suddenly burst forth. It warns those present, do not dare to glare at the child with those loathsome eyes. The entity bellows again, we shall pluck your eyes out, just you wait. The golden-haired knight hurriedly asks, Riley, what is he saying, young master? But the humans can't understand, for he speaks in another language. The entity on this side laughs heartily, oh, this is utter chaos. Isaac, somewhat hesitant, thinks, so that bastard has realized I'm Demon King Kola, his persistence in following me is commendable, but… Meanwhile, the knights begin to act, all the warriors ready themselves for battle. Clearly, Isaac inwardly bellows, what are you doing over there, putting on a show? He makes every effort to communicate to the golden-haired knight, over there, not far off, listen, you damn fool, do not block my path, or you'll incur my immeasurable wrath. Still full of determination, he shouts, young master Wysak, please wait just a little longer, I'll resolve this. Then, that eerie laughter echoes once again. The core couldn't help but feel pleased that my master had recognized me, my guiding light had acknowledged me, yet in the eyes of the golden-haired knight there was nothing but fear and frantic screams, while young Master Riley of that demon tribe was displaying clear hostility. At that moment, the core darted past the group of knights. I'll go straight to my master at once. Riley quickly spotted that direction and aimed at Isaac, that despicable wretch was heading right for him. The core charged in wildly, you filthy holy knights, how dare you seal him away in such a squalid place, Isaac thought, perfect, I've caught his eye. He couldn't help but feel helpless, there's no way I can let my mana core be exorcised. Isaac strained to convey his three crucial instructions, let's begin by breaking this protective barrier. At that moment, the core, elated, laughed, I did it. It then continued targeting Isaac's protective shield, following its master's command. The golden-haired knight cried out, young master of celestial magic, Riley, meanwhile, was clearly in a panic. Isaac simply smiled in satisfaction. After being escorted by the core, he praised it, well done. Isaac then extended both hands to grasp the core. For 3 hours, stop making a fuss, just rest for a bit. Before it could understand what was happening, its master spun around. In an instant, Isaac hurled it far away, leaving only its screams of, why, behind. Witnessing this display, Riley turned as pale as a sheet, as if to say, no way. Isaac, still completely at ease, deduced from over here that the core had transformed into a demonic form. Unable to contain himself, the golden-haired knight happily exclaimed, that core's transformation into a demon on its very first trial, how extraordinary, isn't it? Others joined in the cheers for Isaac, saying, that's a divine technique, only someone as powerful as a top alchemist or a saintess could use it. Isaac thought, divine technique, please, I'm just using mana. Riley speculated, it must be the core transformation divine technique, but even for a technique of such high caliber, it's odd that I can't sense any holy power from it. The golden-haired knight then remarked as if to say, you know, a person's true worth is only revealed in moments of crisis. He recalled how that very person had once ambushed the young master. I'm sure even a tennis ball would have sensed the danger instinctively, so it rushed to eliminate the source of peril. The golden-haired knight continued to heap praise upon Isaac, declaring, our young master is simply marvelous, I'm absolutely convinced that he is a saint. From afar, Riley mused, there's nothing wrong with him, even the demon tribe has come here targeting that kid, if he isn't a saint, then he must possess something truly special. He gritted his teeth and wondered, but why does it always have to be a little boy? Riley then recalled, because of Demon King Coralau's curse, Joshua's sons will suddenly. At that moment, the golden-haired knight's voice cut through his thoughts, I've made up my mind. Cradling Isaac in his arms, he declared with determination, as the captain of the pure faith, I will safeguard your future, the future of our entire clan. Riley was taken aback by this. He smiled gently and replied, I see, you're such a fool. Riley reached out to lift Isaac, I just fear that Demon King Coralau's curse might one day bring glory to Joshua through this child. Hoisting Isaac up, he confidently declared, let's head home, Isaac, your uncle will teach you many things. Riley continued, you possess extraordinary talent, I'll nurture you into an exceptional knight. Isaac inwardly mused, I'm not going to become that, as long as I can return home and reclaim my body, it's all right. Riley added another remark that left Isaac dumbfounded, even if you don't live long, I'll protect you at any cost. Isaac thought, how idiotic. Riley went on to proclaim, your name will echo throughout this entire continent. Isaac protested vehemently, wait, what in the world, hold on, I've got a feeling you're about to say something extremely urgent. From the other side, Riley mused, I knew you'd like it, only for Isaac to shout, ah, no. Riley proposed, once we get home, I'll start by teaching you how to curse Demon King Corella and strip him of any honor. Someone under their breath muttered, damn you, you filthy bastards. At that moment, the carriage arrived at Duke Joshua's estate. The statues were exquisitely carved in gleaming gold. Even the architecture of the building was remarkably intricate. Isaac looked out at the scene with growing fury, these imbecilic bastards, so eager to butcher the demon tribe, yet living in such extravagance, how much money must that place be burning through? He remembered his time among the demon tribe and thought sadly, those damn bourgeois scum, I had to work myself to the bone, wearing out my clothes just to feed my children. A dark-skinned youngster said to him, oh my, master, this place is on a completely different level compared to our ramshackle palaces. If we sold a few of these carved statues, we could buy 10 Demon King castles. Isaac promptly reminded him, I already know, now shut up. Ryle lifted Isaac up and said, this is the Joshua estate, Isaac, this is the birthplace of exorcism and of vanquishing monsters on the continent. He carried Isaac outside to take a look. A group of people were training with dummies. When you grow up, you'll be just like those kids, they joked. They struck the dummies with their staffs, shouting, die, Demon King. As they beat the targets, their anger was evident. They cursed, damn you, not enough, damn you, Demon King Corella. The shouts rang out, die, die. Isaac stood rooted to the spot, thinking, what on earth are you teaching these kids? Is this a fanatical family? He tried to reassure himself, it doesn't really matter anyway. Isaac mused, as long as I infiltrate the Holy Empire, I'll incinerate the Emperor and transform this place into my own empire. Then, in a low whisper to someone nearby, he added, what are you doing, my lord? Instead of dealing with Demon King Corella, you're hassling a bunch of kids. How pathetic. He then ordered, quiet down and go scout the area. It immediately replied, of course. A dazzling, radiant building caught everyone's eye. Isaac murmured while calculating, they are all manhwas. How can there be 10 of them? Even that dark-skinned kid admitted, this is the first time I've seen so many manhwas gathered in one place. Just how many demons did they slay? At that moment, a servant announced, young master, we have arrived. Riley stepped down from the carriage and ordered, prepare a room for me and Isaac, we'll be staying together. The steward stuttered, about that. He quickly said, I'm sorry, young master, Riley, we've been ordered to bring young master Isaac to the annex building. Isaac was puzzled, the annex, why? The steward, looking embarrassed, replied, young Master Lu has decreed that Isaac must never be brought into the main building. Isaac was thoroughly displeased, what now? Riley, of course, was equally dissatisfied, don't you want to take Isaac to that damn cursed place? Isaac grew even more confused, thinking, this family is something else, in all the years I've been out there as a whelp, I already knew Joshua was falling apart. Riley complained, he really is doing something futile. Isaac silently agreed, exactly, I can live in a mansion, so why must I be sent to the annex? Then, in a low whisper by his ear, someone said, the manhwas are located in the annex. Riley ordered, step aside, I cannot allow my own son to remain in that miserable dump. Hearing this, Isaac protested vehemently, no, 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 we must go to the annex. Despite Isaac's objections, Riley didn't understand. He then consoled, come to my room, Isaac, I'll read to you the sacred texts about how the great saintess fought against Demon King Corella, as if it were a bedtime story. After that, I'll teach you the exorcism method specifically devised for Demon King Corella. Isaac's face turned ashen, what the, exorcism, you want to kill him? Just then, a voice rang out, what's with always picking up stray kids, you're overdoing it. He retorted with a laugh, I clearly said I'd bring that kid to the annex. That guy doesn't realize that after secretly opposing Riley for so long, he's now daring to defy his own kin. That man was none other than the 5th son of the Joshua family, Gaul Joshua. Isaac turned around and exclaimed, oh my. Seeing the two face off, he concluded, he's such a scoundrel. Gaul then taunted, I'll send that one to the annex. Riley furiously retorted, are you kidding me? That child is a descendant of Joshua, there's no way we can send him to the annex, the very place that was once used for exile. Inside, Isaac wanted to scream, forget me, just send me to the annex already. At that moment, Gaul reached out and touched Isaac's cheek, asking, where on earth did you find this ragged kid? He even mocked the descendant remark. Isaac thought, I kind of like the idea of being sent to the annex, but what's with this guy, are you some priest or just a lowlife? Isaac sighed and decided, fine, whatever, I just need to get to the annex and absorb some mana. Meanwhile, Rylai was grilling Gaul. I thought you knew why I want to send this kid to the annex. He stated bluntly, I want everyone to believe that this child is cursed so that his inheritance rights can be nullified. Instantly, Isaac's eyes widened. The inheritance rights? Wait a minute. Isaac suddenly remembered something and grew furious, wanting to lash out. That won't do. I even want to suck this whole place dry to turn it into a holy sanctuary, then create a church of the Holy Emperor to take revenge on those damn deities. Gaul, nonchalantly, replied, I want everyone to think so. I heard a demon appear to snatch this kid. It seems he's been cursed after all. The golden-haired knight, hearing this, roared in anger. No, young Master Isaac has already taken part in exorcising that demon. He recounted very seriously how the demon appeared, because that proved his importance. Even the knight behind him replied, exactly, he possesses the divine power of a saint. Upon hearing that, he burst out laughing. You clowns are still trying to cover for that piece of trash. Don't mess with me. If you keep calling the next one a saint, then show me its power. At that moment, the whisperer leaned over to Isaac and murmured, why don't you let him show his power by summoning a meteor? Hearing this, he immediately shot back, a meteor? That's a load of crap. Gaul sneered as he continued, right then, if you want to call him a saint. He dismissed it as nothing more than an absurd condition from the other side. Gaul challenged Isaac, the clan emblem or whatever, why not have it resurrect that thing you love so much? He sneered mockingly, that divine being died because of the demon's dark mana. If it really had what it takes to be a saint, wouldn't it have easily resurrected that thing? Gaul, pleased with himself, pressed on, if it truly is a candidate for sainthood as you all claim, then let me ask you again, do you even know what you're saying? Isaac snapped, Melissa, you're a fine fighter, but your descendants amount to nothing, he added after a pause, your eldest son went missing, and the other was just adopted, HMPH. Suddenly, Isaac noticed something. What's that? The other whispered, what's happening? Isaac grabbed it and asked in a whisper, what do you think? It whispered back, I don't understand anything, He immediately tossed it aside and charged at the little brat, while the whisperer could only shout helplessly, wait a minute. Rylai still wanted to negotiate with Gaul, a dead, withered tree at 75, you expect a kid who hasn't even learned to speak. But then both of them turned around in shock. In Rylai's eyes, his offspring suddenly lit up. What the hell is this, a divine being? The tree quickly turned vibrant and green again. Everyone stared in amazement at the lush tree, exclaiming, it's come back to life. Gaul stuttered, even recovery and purification magic couldn't save him. What on earth happened? Isaac smirked, it's just a trivial mosquito matter. He recalled that there was some dark mana near the roots, so he absorbed it. The whisperer then returned to report, I've absorbed all the mana over there, I'm so bloated now. The golden-haired knight, panic-stricken, asked, Sir, how did you do that with the tree? Honestly, came the reply, I did nothing at all. The guy was utterly stunned. Really, is that so? Inside Rylai, Isaac let out a few guttural laughs. All that mana went to waste. Then he whispered back, and what about you? Do you want me to puke it all out again? Then the golden-haired knight shouted, everybody, to the village, so Isaac has done it. At that point, Gaul laughed awkwardly and sneered, you all idiots, not a single one in your clan can save that tree, would even a stinky, milk-scented little brat be able to do it? He thought, surely someone helped. But no one cares about Gaul. Instead, they are busy chanting, Isaac, shamelessly calling him, young Master Isaac. Gaul mused, of course, it must be because Rylai's pitiful cry drowned out that first call of exorcise the demons, which has now turned into purify. Gaul, seething with anger, snapped, it's all your fault. Rylai fired back, what are you talking about? Furious, Gaul lunged at Rylai, you're always using these dirty tricks. How do you expect me to explain that you even managed to encounter the missing holy maiden? Isaac, clearly annoyed, added, Melissa, you should focus on managing our own household instead of causing chaos with your demon-slaying business. Observing Gaul, he noted that the man claiming to be his brother wasn't in the least like Melissa. I suspect Rylai is actually Melissa in disguise, he thought. In a hushed tone, someone guessed, which brother? Giap immediately read his mind and said, oh, I think he looks a lot like that damned papal scum. Gaul, completely enraged, roared, don't be stupid. You think I don't know you brought that bastard here to promote him as the next holy person, even though our clan already has a candidate? You still resort to filthy tricks. Isaac wondered, what about the other candidates in the clan? That lowlife lawman, wanting that candidate to win, whispered with a mocking laugh, Sir, you up against those people. You don't seem worried at all, Isaac immediately scolded. Don't you think someone backed by that guy is just as despicable? Defeating him would be very satisfying. In a low whisper, he admitted, that does have some merit. Riley grabbed his own collar, straightened himself, and said, Sir, could you at least leave the boy alone? He's both your nephew and your son. He has every right to inherit this clan. Gaul then burst into a mocking laugh. Big brother, he ran away when the clan was in danger. He started cursing in front of Isaac. You call that bastard now, and he dares to claim he has a son who is our elder brother. Inside, he laughed scornfully. Ah, that's why I was the spurned child. My life is so wonderfully ironic. Then he whispered, you really shouldn't speak so nonchalantly about your own life. Gaul smirked and continued, that lowlife is probably still the Holy Maiden's son, just an illegitimate child she was forced to take in, though she remains the Holy Maiden. He then retorted to Riley, moreover, how can we be sure he's really your brother's son? Just by looking at him, he clearly resembles that woman. Having been struck, he shouted, are you insane? You just hit me. Riley retorted, you thought you'd get away with those words? While the knights around turned pale with fear, Isaac seemed to relish the chaos. Ah, how you brothers love to fight. Thanks to you, I've gathered a lot of useful information. Seeing both sides rush into a brawl, the nearby knights hurried over. Sir, you can't let this continue, Isaac mused. The more chaotic this clan becomes, the easier it will be for me to take over. He chuckled gleefully, prompting someone to whisper, damn it, this clan, just collapse already. Then a voice whispered in Isaac's ear, Sir, think again, if the clan falls, your own future is doomed. Don't you care about your own prospects? Hearing that, Isaac fell silent in displeasure. Another beautiful day at the mansion. Isaac sat in one place with a pompous expression. Gradually, his face contorted, as if a monkey had just eaten chili, in sheer irritation. Those present began discussing, Isaac, what are we going to do with yet another son? Isaac muttered under his breath, no one in this household treats their offspring normally at all. Their words grated on him, we've accepted that woman as our holy maiden, she shouldn't have given birth to another useless son, she isn't even qualified to be a holy maiden. He nearly wanted to scream, you lunatics, this has gone too far. Suddenly, the voice of the woman leading the meeting rang out, and everyone fell silent. Madam Julia Joshua, mistress of the Joshua family, announced, we have decided to raise that child in a small building, hidden from view. Someone in the meeting remarked, it seems Isaac has eliminated the mana that was corroding the divine pillar. However, the elders were skeptical. What? I know there's mana on the divine pillar, but how could a newborn possibly dispel it? The only explanation is that the boy somehow formed a physical manifestation from that mana. They took turns discussing among themselves. The clan leader has chosen the purification method, that makes sense for a reason. Gaul grimaced and muttered, what the hell are they babbling about? How can a newborn do that? Riley, however, stated firmly, Isaac must have exorcised the mana instinctively. Isaac nodded in satisfaction, that's right. Riley declared with unwavering conviction. He said, I'm sure this baby, still nursing, has done something that no one in the Central Church has managed in the past 75 years. Gaul, on the opposite side, broke into a cold sweat. What the hell is he talking about? Gaul slammed his hand on the table, trying to steer the discussion. Elders, do you really believe in this absurdity? Gaul vehemently denied. Isaac, a newborn exorcising demons, the child can't even talk yet, and if the world finds out about this, we'll be a laughingstock. He gritted his teeth and bared his fangs as he pointed out Isaac's shortcomings, while Isaac remained unmoved. Look at that boy, how can we be sure he's truly a descendant of the Joshua clan? How do we know he isn't actually the child of some obscure family? Hearing that, Riley resolutely assured, esteemed elders, please listen to me, this child will become a holy person. He even put his hand on Isaac's shoulder. I'm convinced this boy might even become the next pope. This caused Isaac to agree wholeheartedly. Exactly. But then Riley added something that displeased Isaac. The boy will be able to kill the Drilao Demon King. Isaac inwardly fumed. What the hell are you saying? Until now, he's been doing just fine. The elders were also stunned at the mention of that name, Drilao Demon King, that damned creature. Hannah sneered coldly. The child is practically burying himself alive. Riley. Our Lady then challenged, if you're so confident, perhaps we should put the boy to the test. Hannah stipulated, I demand that you use the treasure of sacred relics. The scene then shifted to the northwest region of the Holy Hailland Empire, the Dark Forest. A monster was slain by a sharp, gleaming sword. Riley stood proudly amidst 5 fallen monsters. He sheathed his sword and slowly said, this place is in complete chaos, 2. The knights behind bowed in agreement with Julia. I also concur with the clan leader. Then one knight curiously asked, what exactly is he asking? She had to report, his lord's representative has requested the use of the treasure of sacred relics. Wailai's expression turned sour. I told you that the Holy Court isn't allowed to use it, and yet the knights are saying it isn't for the Holy Court at all. Her next words made him turn around. Your grandson, who resurrected the divine pillar, is here as a representative to see if the boy possesses the qualities of a holy person. Wailai spun around and asked, how so? He pressed further, how can there be a holy person in my clan? As the clan leader, he commanded, I will not allow that only one holy person survive upon entering, tell them to avoid any unnecessary conflicts. Julia emphasized, there are no exceptions, but then an unexpected voice cut in, tell them to continue on. Melissa slowly approached and asked a knight, you're saying it's Isaac, right? She smiled faintly, resurrecting the divine pillar is quite impressive, isn't it? Melissa then remarked, since we're opening the vault, why not let all the candidate female saints and holy persons enter? The female knight looked rather taken aback by this suggestion. She continued eagerly, I'm really looking forward to this, but can a child from another clan actually obtain something valuable from our vault? I sincerely hope so. Melissa mentioned, even the most outstanding female saints of past generations couldn't obtain anything from that vault. Perhaps if someone did retrieve that item, they would be able to track down, and ultimately kill, the Dry Lao Demon King. Excitedly, she proposed, then we should attach a reward to it, shouldn't we? Melissa ordered the knights, tell them, any child who brings forth the finest treasure from the vault will receive a reward that even the Pope cannot obtain. Her commanding words left even the knights under pressure, they will inherit the legacy of the Joshua family. Melissa raised her hand and declared, and I will personally teach them our clan's secret techniques. Enthusiastically, she clenched her fist and told them, we will give you everything. For the treasure of sacred relics is not only the repository of a secret technique from thousands of years ago, but also houses various sacred relics. A holy maiden always guards the vault, and the Joshua family is said to be its rightful owner. Only children under the age of 10 are allowed into the vault, she explained. It has long been used as a ritual for candidate holy maidens. When they turn 1, they enter and select an item, based on which everyone predicts the type of power the holy maiden will possess. However, the vault is so dangerous that even candidate holy maidens risk their lives when entering. After so many deaths, it has been sealed. Then a whisper spoke up, let's see what happens. It cooed eagerly, if our young master survives and retrieves the treasure. Isaac interjected, Baba, why are you telling such stories? It then asked, sir, you're also looking forward to it, aren't you? Who else would it be, my lord, came the reply, of course. His face turned eerie, Baba, they say the corpse of the Dry Lao Demon King is in there. Suddenly, a hand lifted Isaac up, aren't you excited, young master? At this moment, the golden-haired knight recounted to him that the clan leader had opened the archives for all those candidates, and Isaac had just calculated everything. The guy even cheered him up for a while, saying, all the children from the 5 famous clans will be here, even the cursed family of the Holy Catholic will be present, I'm sure you'll win, young master. The young man whispering beside him added, oh, it looks like they are making a big fuss about this. Isaac froze for a moment. After some thought, he considered that it was a good thing. More people meant more dispersion, and it would be easier to reclaim his body. Another hand picked Isaac up. You must be careful, Isaac. Riley lifted him up and advised, the demons captured from the battlefield will be guarding inside. Isaac guessed, it must be dangerous since demons are guarding that place, right? He smirked quietly, but I'm sure they're all level 6 or lower. Isaac decided, I'll just use containment, but before he could finish calculating, Riley interrupted, a level 8 demon is certainly not an easy opponent to handle. He then shouted, what the hell, what is a level 8 demon doing in there? The golden-haired knight added, although the level 9 dragon might be the worst. Riley then commented, maybe if you judge purely by rank. Phytham couldn't help but complain, the entire Donghua clan must have lost their minds, a dragon, in a place where a bunch of kids will come. He hesitated, but at least you know so much about dragons, master. Yet Isaac showed no will, clenching his teeth in fear. He thought, what now? He muttered, damn it, dragons are dangerous in another way, who would have thought, I've fooled them several times already. Phytham couldn't help but feel delighted, that bastard has deceived the immature dragons. The image of the argument among the dragons reappeared as they continuously demanded, what kind of demon did you sell to those kids? They're not even 300 years old yet, and that old man has already been captured. That monster bodyguard, how many? 17 or so, someone speculated. Isaac recalled and felt bitter. Damn, they have an excellent memory, they can even recognize my soul. Phi-Tham then encouraged, perhaps now is a good time for me to change masters. Did you hear that? Isaac snapped at him. They can hear us. He placed his 2 hands down, determined, there really is no other choice. Isaac remembered that in the relic treasury there was a level 6 demon and a level 9 dragon, but right now, he could only handle the level 6 demons. He thought of the glowing mana in the mansion and resolved to fight them. I need to seize all the mana cores of the Zatsua clan, Isaac ordered, and Phi-Tham replied, to the auxiliary building, then. So, under a clear sky, he and Phi-Tham began reading the book. Sitting in front of the door, he flipped through the pages and studied, while Phi-Tham was filled with worry. Then Phi-Tham walked by and said, Master, it's all right, isn't it? You look like you're about to be purged, he remarked. He held the book *10 Ways to Tear Apart the Bone Emperor in his hand. After reading it, his face turned purple, and he nearly fainted like a fallen deity. After finishing, his expression contorted. Inwardly he thought, damn it, if I could master holy power, learning these 3 spells would be as easy as using my hands. The more he read, the more discouraged he became. Note, Isaac still hasn't weaned from his mother. So he quickly changed his approach. Now, I'll just manipulate his mind and force him to teach me. Done. Then, as if realizing something, Phi-Tham grinned widely and praised, Master, you want to use dark magic among those priests, so you plan to bury this house and then recruit some truly awesome demons, right? This made him panic as he looked at Phi-Tham, wondering, what the hell happened to your personality in just 155? Meanwhile, Phi-Tham flew off joyfully while he rubbed his tired face and muttered, I can't handle this alone, I just can't fully grasp this theory. So, he yawned sleepily. Rylai, extending his hand to pick him up, said, You look so tired, dear. Then he hugged him and consoled, I suppose you've had an incredibly busy day. At that moment, he felt so drowsy he could fall asleep at any second. Meanwhile, Phi-Tham, following closely, thought, That's right, kids our age need to sleep 16 hours a day to be enough. After Rylai put him to sleep, the golden-haired knight noticed the book, picked it up, and asked in curiosity. Rylai Joshua said nothing, he just extended his hand in front of him. Then he cast a regeneration spell, instantly restoring his strength. He grinned broadly. Oh, what a spell. Excitedly, he prepared to leap up and ask for more. Right, then, launch your attack spell. At that moment, Master Phi-Tham flew over and advised, Please, just stay put. Then Phi-Tham added, You need to get to the auxiliary building as soon as possible. You can't hide here, can you? Startled, he widened his eyes. That's right, the auxiliary building. We have to drive these people away as quickly as possible. So, in front of the two, he deliberately put on an act. Yet, seeing what he did, Phi-Tham thought, who'd believe that nonsense? Even so, it still attracted both of their attentions. The golden-haired knight, upon seeing the scene, raised his hand to his nose and snickered brightly. Wow, you fall asleep so fast. Meanwhile, Yahello Joshua felt honored. A wonderful kid, he's agile at everything. And Phi-Tham was utterly amazed, thinking, they really got electrified. Did they actually believe that? So, to keep the space quiet, the two conferred, let's head out, it's getting late. Shall we go? Yeah, anyway I need to go train. The plan's a smashing success, he chuckled, while Phi-Tham could only put on an incredibly gloomy, bizarre expression. Suddenly, someone said, that primordial object looks extremely dangerous, I think we should take it outside, causing Ontincam Mong to open his eyes wide. Rylai Joshua flung open the door and announced, that is a precious object, the primordial object belonging to Isaac, make sure it stays safe. The golden-haired knight smiled and obeyed, yes, sir. Meanwhile, unpanicked, I still have to restore it, and who would dare take it? At that moment, Rylai Joshua added, we'll display it in the most visible place. Which made On collapse in tears, thinking, my primordial object hasn't even had its mana drawn yet. But he also had a backup plan. He climbed up and looked ahead excitedly. Alright, I'll drain all the mana cores in the auxiliary building. With his tiny body, he tried to climb out and escape, prompting Phi-Tham to snicker. You really intend to crawl to the auxiliary building? I wonder if you'll even make it there today. Determined, he declared, I have a way to open the door for us. Phi-Tham gradually flew over and replied, yes, of course, orders are orders. There's no way I'll carry you there, he added. Upon arriving, Phi-Tham inspected and then exclaimed, your master's key is lost, the entire locking system is outside, he even sealed the spell, you just climbed out and haven't even sat up yet, and you're shocked. He muttered, damn that master. So, in the quiet space, he ordered, break down the door, but Phaetham replied, they'll think you're under attack and rush over to see. Frustrated, he could only fume, damn it. He banged his hand on the door to express his anger. His face contorted as he tried using his tiny body to pull the door open. I can't stand all these murmurs from everywhere. If I use magic, everything will only get worse. Phaetham, upon seeing this, couldn't help but laugh. While he was pondering his escape, the door suddenly swung open, and he was unexpectedly injured. He exclaimed, Kia. This startled Suizosha, who then said, ah. When the door was fully opened, they saw him rolling on the ground. Seeing this, Sui Joshua wondered, this kid still can't walk yet, and he's the son of Gaul Joshua, the candidate for the holy blessing from the Joshua clan. Sui Joshua was only 5 years old. At that moment, he realized that this kid was definitely his enemy, but he lamented upon noticing the blood. This made Phaetham angry as he shouted, he dares to harm my master. 5-year-old Sui Joshua, gritting his teeth in anger, clutched the primordial object tightly. Even a genius like him couldn't possibly have created it, no way that little brat could have produced it. Sui Joshua was gathering his strength to cast a spell. At that moment, he saw the scene and excitedly exclaimed, ah. Sui Joshua smirked maliciously, you're the only one truly worthy of being sanctified. The one who dares to wield the 5-league power that belongs to me. Raising that power in his hand, I can only feel disdain. Then, he used his finger to control his favorite toy. This is exactly how I escaped from that Joshua brat. Lost in his imagination, he hurled the toy straight at Sui Joshua's head, sending him tumbling. He looked at the scene with delight and pointed ahead, dear, find a horse for me to ride. At that moment, Sui Joshua burst into tears, covering his face in anger as he shouted, do you know who I am? Of course, replied the observer, with that appearance you look exactly like that thug uncle. It must be his son. Meanwhile, Phaetham chuckled quietly to himself. At that moment, he held the toy in his hand and smirked maliciously, I see someone is gathering mana to attack me, you bastard. Damn your family, he thought, and used his strength to control the toy, pummeling Sui Joshua so that the kid could only curl up in defense, exclaiming, ah. Phaetham, upon seeing the scene, praised, what a beautiful strike, master. This only fueled his excitement to launch an even fiercer attack. Get ready, you're going to be my ride, he ordered the rascal. Unable to hold back any longer, Suizosha tried to concentrate all his strength into his hand. Then he cast a shield to defend himself. Even as tears fell, he thought in surprise, am I really more capable than others? Hearing that question, he simply smiled and replied nonchalantly, enough to make Sui Joshua erupt in anger, what the, no one my age has ever been able to use level 3 holy defense. To make him both respect and submit, Sui Joshua then demonstrated, widening his eyes in astonishment, though it was a bit premature. Then he looked up to the sky and unleashed his level 3 holy attack, Holy Radiance. He simply watched without much surprise, while Sui Joshua happily rejoiced, thinking, I've surpassed Kim Isaac. Taking the blow from that power aimed straight at him, he merely looked up at the sky and murmured in admiration, that's incredibly impressive, summoning not 1, but 2 streams of holy radiance. But that power was nothing more than a mosquito, so he just laughed and exclaimed, Dea, thanks for the meal. Then, using his ability, he countered the attack, much to Sui Joshua's astonishment. All you could do was watch him helplessly and blurt out, how can that defensive spell be amplified like that? He laughed and mocked, leaving Sui Joshua's heart in disarray as he wondered, how could you possibly know how to use it when I haven't even taught you? Now, the control was entirely in his hands. While Sui Joshua anxiously surveyed his fate, he beamed and declared, DIA, ha ha, thanks to Master Huindai's instructions. That immense power was drawing near, and Sui Joshua couldn't help but worry. Then he pointed his finger menacingly straight at Sui Joshua, sending him into a panic. He began to back away while exclaiming, wait a minute, but it's too late to redo that now. Suddenly, a piercing scream rang out, and as someone witnessed it all, they smiled broadly and whispered, I don't know what to say. All he could do was step closer, sighing, the entire Donghua clan is doomed, dragons being sent to a place full of newborns, if we lose something vital. His laughter died, replaced by utter despondency. However, his master, who at least possessed profound knowledge about dragons, was recounting the tale to him. Then, looking down, he whispered in puzzlement. What's happened now? He thought anxiously, biting his nails and sweating profusely. Damn it, when I think about it, dragons are truly dangerous. I've been deceiving them for ages, came a quiet, questioning whisper. How many of them have you fooled? That brought back the memory of that chaotic scene, when dragons swarmed all over him on the battlefield. That bastard deceived every last one of those baby dragons. What on earth did you sell them? They aren't even 300 years old yet, and even many mature dragons were duped by that mangy creep. He counted one by one and finally concluded, about 70 of them. So what? With such overwhelming numbers, he became extremely worried. Damn, they cling like leeches, soon they'll realize their souls are lost. In contrast, the one whispering had already devised a plan without any pity, thinking, isn't this the perfect opportunity to swap places with the master? Upon hearing that, he could only grit his teeth and inwardly admonish, did you hear that? At this final juncture, with no retreat possible, he decided there was no other way. He whispered, then transformed into a totem, taking a guarding stance with his arms raised. Then he looked down at Sui Joshua with eyes full of disdain and snapped, Daya, what are you doing? With that overwhelming power, he glowered at Sui Joshua and ordered, get out, you wretch, carry me quickly. Tonight, you, out there, are Sui Joshua, he declared. You're enduring all this now because someday you'll become a saint. You'll break free of the cursed Joshua clan and rise as the Holy Emperor, but mark my words, your hardships are only just beginning, he added. But you used every ounce of your strength, stomping the ground hard to resist. And though you were cheerfully carrying Kim Isaac on your back, the harder you strained, the more exhausted you became, that damned kid was. Now, with a scheming look, he waved his toy around and ordered, DA2, head to that auxiliary building. Meanwhile, you, confused and utterly drained, shouted, why are you doing that? Don't you know who I am? Before you could finish your sentence, he hissed a threat, scram, or I'll tear you to pieces, you miserable insect. He then observed the scene with such boredom that he showed not a trace of emotion. Agreeing with the plan, he grunted, yeah, first, we survived this place. Meanwhile, Sui Joshua was so terrified he burst into tears, crying, somebody, please save me. Thus, in that silent night, only screams broke the stillness. Da, over on the left, so heroic. Meanwhile, Sui Joshua tottered, barely holding himself up. You were gasping from the burden of debt on your head, while Kim Isaac simply looked down, banged his toy, and scolded, Da, you want to die, pull yourself together. Sui Joshua could only feel bewildered by that finicky attitude in the dead of night, wondering, where on earth are you going? The howling wind made Sui Joshua pause, he dared not move forward. Looking ahead, his face turned a ghastly purple. This was none other than the second auxiliary building of the Joshua clan. Sui Joshua stared in panic and shouted, a haunted house. Then, while whispering and watching the scene, he chuckled, ha. He maintained a calm demeanor as he tried to figure things out. Only Sui Joshua was so terrified his mouth hung open, exclaiming, why on earth did that lunatic drag me here? So many have died here, the master forbids entry. The two burst into hearty laughter as they were about to put their plan into motion, whispering, looks like there are a few dozen of them here. You must have risked your life and trained for 15 units, just to gather every bit of mana. This building shines like a treasure. Kim Isaac grew even more excited and simply commanded, go straight ahead, kid. Sui Joshua, having been pestered so long, understood his intent and said, why don't we go inside? We can't possibly get in there, can we? Adults have strictly forbidden it. Before you could finish, a low, threatening whisper emerged, silencing you completely. Scram, you little runt. That old, dilapidated house still glimmered with light. Two small figures crept slowly into the auxiliary building as Kim Isaac's voice echoed everywhere, while you had to crawl along in terror. The place was so desolate and decrepit it made him feel utterly disgusted. Damn, it's even worse inside. You've exhausted me all this time, haven't you? After scanning the surroundings for a while, he discovered something peculiar. He mused, wait a minute, that's it. After a quick inspection, he whispered, the entire building has been sealed. The master, every door here is protected by some kind of barrier. Hearing that, he became so disheartened he slumped onto Sui Joshua, sighing, what a nuisance. Meanwhile, you felt even heavier, trembling. Tired and scared, Sui Joshua looked up and advised, let's go back, everything in here is locked down. Suddenly, he grabbed Sui Joshua's head and bellowed, oh my, what's going on? Let go, he roared, I was just telling my little brother to stop attacking. But as you looked ahead, you suddenly froze. Staring at the scene before you, you stood there in utter amazement, images of past clan masters. It was as if Kim Isaac, knowing your intentions since childhood, advised, you should give up now, you really still aiming to be the clan master. Useless, he declared, the next clan master will be me. With that haughty air, he didn't hesitate, using his power to manipulate a few trinkets. He roared and smashed the portrait to pieces. Sui Joshua watched in horror as his eyes widened in shock. He screamed, "Our ancestors," but as if not hearing him, the man continued to control his toys, smashing them into fragments. Sui Joshua couldn't believe his eyes and cried, "Have you lost your mind? What are you doing to the clan masters?" Just as he had predicted, after shattering every portrait, he retracted his toy and exclaimed excitedly, "Then who would dare to place a barrier on these portraits?" After a brief check, he whispered, then nearly jumped for joy, "The barrier has been broken, Master, did you hear that? Wonderful." So he transformed into a cat and dashed off to uncover the truth. In stark contrast to his delighted expression, Sui Joshua was beside himself with panic. "Hey, you, where do you think you're going?" Not only did he dash off, but he also slowly rolled away, leaving Suijizu in disbelief. "You out of your mind? After causing all this chaos, where on earth are you headed?" He bellowed and flung open the door. Inside were everything he'd been searching for, so he grinned broadly and shouted, "Oh, marvelous. There's one more matter, I'll settle it right now." Then he activated Ga-BA and whispered to lock the door. The door slowly closed, while a confused Sui Joshua ran ahead, only to stop. "Hold on, what are you doing?" A look of disdain was clear on his face as he thought, "A child like you need not know this, kid." After everything was settled, he sat upright, sighed deeply. "Phew. Let's begin." Around him, blue wisps, like spiritual energy, emanated, and his eyes shone brilliantly. Outside, Sui Joshua, worried, shouted and pounded on the door, "Hurry up, I'm going to tell the elders everything. I'll tell them every single detail and get you kicked out of here." As he pounded the door furiously, someone began to approach. "Sui, that familiar voice made you so scared that you broke out in a cold sweat?" Riley Joshua asked, "What are you doing here?" And as soon as you heard it, you immediately turned away. Then someone reported the crimes committed by Kim Isaac. "Uncle, you came just in time, Isaac, you little monster." But before he could finish, someone from behind scolded, "What do you think you're doing, Sui? No matter what your excuse is, you know full well you're not allowed in the annex. What were you thinking, bringing Isaac here?" After hearing that, you didn't understand a word and could only smile wryly and reply, "Yes." In everyone's memory, Kim Isaac had become a pitiful, tearful wreck after you slyly carried him off in disgrace. Everyone who saw that scene was gossiping. So many have witnessed you carrying Isaac on your back. Moreover, Isaac's room bears traces of wholly offensive magic. You are the one responsible for all of this, aren't you? Those accusations made you gradually step back in fear as you protested. "It's not that I brought him here with my wholly offensive magic, but..." Riley Joshua gently patted you on the shoulder and advised, "Sui, this time you've gone too far. No matter what, you've harassed a child who's still nursing." "I've locked Isaac up in here," you declared, but upon hearing that, you became even more panicked. You hadn't even had a moment to smile because you hadn't locked him up anywhere. Isaac went into the tomb on his own, and suddenly a noise came from inside that sent everyone into a panic. Riley Joshua approached the door and asked, "Isaac, are you in there? Did you lock the door, for heaven's sake?" Light Zoja managed to open the door, and his face immediately contorted. At that moment, he was crying and whining, prompting Riley Joshua to shout, "Isaac." Watching the tragic scene, she pitied you, saying, "Oh dear, Isaac, the poor kid looks terrified." Meanwhile, Sui Joshua was so bewildered he didn't know how to react. Riley Joshua patted him reassuringly. "You're safe now." The boy still looked frightened, but it seemed nothing had happened. He buried his face in his arms and wept softly. Riley Zoja's eyes gleamed with murderous intent, just like yours. Then, after hugging him, he left, not forgetting to warn, "You should be ashamed. Don't even dare to look back. You felt so wrong that you could barely manage." "No, that's not true, really." At that moment, he let out a cry of thanks, which left Sui Joshua puzzled. Then, with a cruel, malicious smile, he said, "Thanks to you, I've had a delicious meal." Witnessing that, Sui turned pale, unable to shake off his sense of injustice toward that bastard. It made her wonder, upon reflection, there are so many suspicious details. Why does that kid look as if he's just burst into flames? Isn't it too cold here for such a small child? He held a flame in his hand, exultant. Not only had he absorbed far more than he expected, but in one go he'd taken in an amount of mana equivalent to 100 years of grueling training. He held that flame within himself, absorbing mana bit by bit. "Finally, I can carry out that plan." He grinned broadly, his face twisting into something terrifying, while Riley Joshua simply thought, it seems Isaac is really quite scared. The dewy morning drifted by in silence. As he was studying and murmuring to himself, suddenly a voice rang out, "Isaac, I want to introduce someone to you." Riley Zura kindly said, "This is Aisley. From now on, she will be your assistant." The elegant lady gracefully placed her hand on her chest and briefly introduced herself. "My name is Aisley LRCH, Holy Knight of the Joshua clan." After her introduction, she knelt and pledged, "I will serve you until my last breath." Though she whispered these words to put him at ease, he only looked on with disdain. After some thought, he mused quietly, "They sent someone to keep an eye on me because of that previous incident, huh?" So he immediately used his tiny body to point directly at her in a threatening manner, leaving her puzzled. He then put his hand on his wrinkled face and snarled, "Damn it, get out of my sight." The two of them were utterly baffled, everyone's face turned confused after witnessing that. Thinking she'd made her point, Aisley then proceeded to address young Master Riley. Aisley, looking shy and dejected, said, "Please, young master, give me a peck on the cheek." Behind them, Riley Joshua was delighted to see the two embracing, while he could only smirk. "This place is full of lunatics." Riley Joshua reached into his shirt pocket and pulled something out, saying, "Ah, Isaac. This is a gift from your uncle. It's so exquisite it looks as if it's been completely silver-plated, and it even carries a fragrance." Looking at it, he was confused. Did he pick that up from a trash can? It even reeks. "I thought I must have misheard. Could it be that the Joshua clan is really in financial crisis, that they call this a gift worthy of the owner's first birthday?" While he was still complaining, Aisley suddenly gasped, "Oh my, isn't this the Holy Maiden's ancestral treasure?" Half believing and half in doubt, he picked it up to examine it. "The Holy Maiden's ancestral treasure." Riley Joshua patted his head before explaining, "Your uncle took it from the council to give to you." After inspecting it, he confirmed, "Yes, it's genuine. This is the ring that the Holy Maiden used in the battle against us. The ancient ring holds a trace of holy power." When he picked it up, it immediately emanated a white gold aura of holy power. He held the ring with a scheming look. "It seemed like it might break after just 1 or 2 uses, but I have a way to fix it." Moreover, he glanced somewhere else. Gaul Josuo was leaning against a tree, his expression utterly gloomy. Staring fixedly at him only made him more convinced. That man's look assured him this was a genuine item, so dazzling that it seemed as if the little brat wanted to wipe him out. Gaul Joshua suddenly approached, leaving him perplexed. "Ah, ha ha, my little grandson Isaac." Forcing a smile, he looked at his beloved grandson with feigned affection. "Oh, you're just so adorable. I hope you feel comfortable here, but ever since that man got closer, I've felt uneasy enough to jump." Deep down, he was screaming internally, "Damn, this is so messed up," he whispered with worry. "Maybe he's lost his mind." Inside him, everything's in chaos. "Damn, everything's just too complicated. I've sabotaged the blessing device in the relic repository so it can't receive any blessings, but I never expected they'd replace it with the Holy Maiden's ancestral treasure like this." At that moment, she handed the ring to Riley Rotsuo and said, "Since he couldn't receive the blessing, we had to give him this instead." Gaul Rotsuo's eyes widened in horror. The Holy Maiden's ancestral treasure. Determined, he pointed at himself and shouted, "Give that to my child." Then, looking at Gaul Rotsuo, he demanded, "Hand it over to Sui." Then he sighed and waved his hand dismissively. Didn't he already receive the blessing from the cathedral? Don't be greedy, go back. Recalling that, he clenched his teeth in anger. He intended to pretend to donate to the cathedral while taking it away, but he could never understand the true value of that ancestral treasure. He adjusted his shirt as if to straighten up, then grumbled, "Honestly, if you're going to choose a gift, you should pick something of better quality, not this useless junk." Hearing that, Riley Joshua became furious and retorted, "Useless? How dare you call a Holy Maiden's artifact useless?" Then he gave a sinister smile as he looked at Riley Rotsuo and pulled out another ring box, saying, "Isaac is also your precious grandson. How can you give him something so worthless?" So he opened the ring box, revealing a sparkling ring that had been directly blessed by the cathedral. In the repository of achievements, this item is bound to be far more useful. It's an incredibly valuable treasure that Riley could never hope to obtain. Riley Joshua stood there speechless. Thus, Gaul Joshua presented the ring box to entice him. "Isn't that right? Now, hand me that old, filthy ring," he snapped, then hurled the box straight at Gaul Joshua, making the other man's face blanch, while warning, "Don't you dare mess around." He grabbed Gaul Joshua's ring box, snapped the lid shut, and said, "Da-da, Doesn't this filthy junk reek like the Pope? In Gaul Jose's astonishment, he tossed the ring box skyward, exclaiming, "Ha ha, screw you." The discarded ring provoked him to shout in fury. Then he quickly ordered someone, "What are you doing? Go find that ring, quickly." Glancing over, he saw Riley Rotsua staring intently at him, thinking, "That ring is worth 1,000 times more than the one I gave the kid." Yet the kid still chose my gift. He then held the ring in his hand and beamed brightly. Thus, Riley Rotsua happily extended his hand toward him. "Isaac, my beloved grandson." Then Riley Joshua, together with Asuli, hoisted him into the air with exultant joy, proclaiming, "From now on, I'll give you only the best. Hooray, young Master Isaac." Meanwhile, as someone grabbed the ring, another sighed deeply, "Oh young master," yet Gaul Joshua stands aside, urging us to search for it at any cost, even risking his life. While he was being carried, he secretly rejoiced, "I've already cast the wait spell, it'll never be found." He whispered these words, happily praising, "Truly, the master is determined never to touch one of your filthy items. How admirable." But before I could even smile much, he said, "Pick it up tomorrow morning," which made me whisper absurdly, and then he asked, could it be that I only whispered a single sound? At that moment, he explained that it was extremely valuable, "We'll sell it." Meanwhile, the guy, having lost track of the ring, clutched his head and cried out. Inside the room, Gaul Joshua, furious, pounded the table and cursed that pathetic wretch. Then he bowed his head dejectedly and lamented, "He has no idea how valuable that thing is." In this situation, the guy could only hang his head in helpless surrender, so he had no choice but to let it go. After all, he doesn't even know how to use the ancient ring. Right then, the man before him was speechless and looked at Gaul Joshua in bewilderment as he explained about the ring. "That holy woman, only someone who cannot wield divine techniques can use it. You need to absorb the sacred power of at least 20 people to activate it. That's impossible." A challenging expression slowly appeared on his face. With a wicked smile, he mused, "Do you think 10 people can show up for its birthday celebration? Here we go." So, the next morning, with a clear and dewy sky, crowds poured in from everywhere, laughing and chatting happily. Asuli carried him in his arms and gazed outside in amazement. "Incredible, there are over 148 candidates for the Holy Maiden, nobles and servants alike, with around 4,000 people present today." All the ducal families had arrived, along with over 10 marquis houses, and even the emperor was present. Other nations had also sent candidates for the Holy Maiden. "Amazing, isn't it?" Asuli beamed as he carried him, though the frail, emaciated fellow could only sigh and mutter in boredom. Witnessing that scene, he became utterly disheartened and thought, "Why are there so many candidates for the Holy Maiden? Have the lazy deities just herded them everywhere?" As he murmured his observation, he could only reply, "They really are the type to do just that." Riley Joshua over here also found it strange and pondered for a moment. "I never expected this. I thought no one would come, assuming it was a trap." "Of course, no one would think it was a trap, my friend. You just reeled in the bait," someone remarked, when suddenly, the door burst open. "Long time no see, Riley." It was the head of one of the 3 merchant associations in the empire and Riley's best friend, Marquis Simon. That unexpected appearance left Riley utterly astonished. "Simon, you're here too." Simon grinned broadly. "Of course, good news is spreading all over the empire, so naturally I had to come. Everyone knows this isn't a trap, so we've decided to join in. After all the feeble young men of the Joshua family are present." "Ha ha ha." Upon hearing that, Riley Joshua and Asuli nodded in agreement. Simon continued cheerfully, "Not to mention the stakes that the head of the Joshua family has bet on this, how could I possibly not come? Even the papal family will be there." Hearing that, he felt a bit relieved and gradually turned his face to eavesdrop, wondering, what exactly did she bet on? Riley Joshua, naturally disbelieving such absurdity, retorted, "Don't talk nonsense. There's no way the papal family could attend." Simon could only sigh and tease, "Yeah, right, there's no way those unfriendly royals would show up on Joshua family territory. They hate this place because it's overrun with commoners, except for the Belit family, of course." The more they talked, the more outrageous it became. Riley Joshua advised Simon to lower his voice a bit, but Simon just pressed on, "Why, my son Armel is also a candidate for the Holy Maiden, and besides, this event is organized by the Joshua family. The papal family has no reason to get involved." Suddenly, a shadowy figure began slowly approaching. Gradually, the figure raised a hand to open the door. At that moment, Riley Joshua tried to caution, "Be careful with your words. Don't mind that dress," he added, his face forever looking as if he had just stepped in something foul. Just then, as the door swung open, all three were dumbfounded, looking toward the door. The newcomer declared in a gruff tone, "There's nothing dangerous, just like an uncouth friend." Sure enough, the ancient wisdom was spot on. That unexpected appearance left Simon's face turning purple. He hadn't anticipated such a scenario. Simon gradually backed away to avoid the overwhelming pressure, and Riley Joshua immediately recognized the figure, none other than Belit, the red-robed leader of the papal faction. He looked inside and laughed smugly. Then he said to them all, "Just think, the feeble man from the Joshua family is hosting such an event, hoping that your child will pull something out of the relic vault to salvage your family's honor. I'm curious to see what kind of candidate for sainthood this wretched Joshua child really is." Yet he still hadn't been seen. Asuli, noticing his look, immediately wrapped his arms tightly around him. He smiled in satisfaction and continued, "Well, regardless, this is your chance." Placing a hand on his chest as an overwhelming pressure radiated through him, he prayed earnestly that the holy candidate might elevate your family's reputation. Riley Joshua couldn't help but feel a deep dread. This was nothing but a scam orchestrated by the Holy See. About 10 figures clad in black cloaks with eyes glowing like gold noted that the number of holy candidates had jumped from 25 to 148 in just the past week, a truly bizarre turn of events. The only explanation was that the Holy See was turning a blind eye to the mysterious origins of these candidates. Nevertheless, their fate would end in bloodshed within the magical circle. Everyone wanted their own child to be the holy candidate. Once such children were admitted to the relic vault, they would inevitably resort to eliminating the weakest opponents. Riley Joshua clenched his fists in worry. They might even harm the boy amidst the chaos. If that happens, be sure to keep an eye on him. Isaac will be in danger. While Riley Joshua was fretting endlessly, he himself paid no mind to the trivialities. He didn't even realize what was unfolding. The holy statue, a symbol of the family, shone brilliantly. It depicted a Joshua boy. The sparkling light radiating from that sacred statue, despite the family's illustrious reputation, was utterly useless. The statue of the child merely cowered inward and slumped down. In the tense atmosphere, however, those who coveted the superior genes of the Joshua family, or who sought the grace of the papal family, those who despised the lineage of the maiden, found countless hands reaching for that dazzling light. That Joshua child was nothing more than perfect prey. At that moment, a mysterious figure presented a vial and ordered, "Go ahead and tamper with that Joshua kid a bit. Make sure he doesn't die, but render him utterly helpless." The child took the vial and carried out this crucial task. His mission, to mix this potion into his water and use holy poison. Teach the kid just how ruthless the world can be. Meanwhile, numerous vials lay scattered across the floor. "Turn this into a farce right before everyone's eyes," they declared, leaving all the attendees utterly astonished. "And proclaim to the world that the Joshua kid will never become a saint." He was taking one vial after another, drinking them as if to deal with the others. After drinking, he felt refreshed, wiping his mouth excitedly and exclaiming, "This is just too delicious." Still in bliss from his drinking, he was suddenly met with panic from others. Everyone, "Oh my, I fear how many vials he's already downed." But the exalted taskmaster could only remain silent. He grabbed that vial, hurled it forward, and commanded, "Daha, bring more of that poison. It can't kill me." This caused one injured person to exclaim. Meanwhile, he was vigorously shaking the vial. "No, now Doha, hand it over to me," which sent onlookers into a state of horror. The person who'd been struck earlier muttered, "I want to go home." Anyone witnessing that scene would have been terrified. Then two people began whispering, "What's wrong with that kid? I thought you'd already put the poison in. Could it be you grabbed the wrong vial?" "Well, that's strange." "I don't think so. Come on, let's go." While still puzzled, someone, covering his face, blurted, "He kept drinking several vials and got dosed with poison. How embarrassing. Don't sully the name Joshua any further." Clearly, something was amiss with the holy candidate. Even as he drank with abandon, Sui Joshua steadily advanced. Then, decisively, he snatched several vials away and shouted, "Stop drinking. Are you so thirsty that you're spitting water everywhere?" Suddenly, Sui Joshua handed over another vial, which made him feel downright irritated. Just as he was about to drink it, before he could finish his sentence, Sui Joshua was abruptly hit with the vial right in the face, yelling, "Diaha, it contained no poison." The guy collapsed, lying on the floor. Meanwhile, he grabbed onto someone's trousers and demanded the vial. Amid everyone's confusion, Dada shouted, "Give it here, hand over that ultra poison." This made someone wonder, why is he so hyperactive? But this is holy poison. Hearing that, someone jumped up in alarm and shouted, "You crazy, drinking that will kill you." On hearing this, he panicked, exclaiming, "Ah, holy poison." Without a moment's thought, he leaped up, his eyes blazing, and demanded that poison-filled vial, "Waha, hand it over." His outburst sent onlookers into a terrified frenzy. Not willing to back down, he charged into a brawl, snatching the vial away. Outside, people murmured excitedly, "It seems he has an extraordinary resistance to poison. I heard that one can reach a level where toxins are naturally harnessed while training sacred power." What, you mean he's already reached that level? But why is he only targeting the vial with poison? Could it be he wants to ensure that no one else drinks from it because it's too dangerous? While everyone was chattering excitedly, Sui Joshua, as if utterly disillusioned with life, quietly sat in a corner pondering the absurdity of it all. "Really?" A voice rang out, startling Sui Joshua as he looked back in surprise. "Do you mean it's self-sacrifice?" That announcement left everyone agape. Even Sui Joshua couldn't believe his eyes. He sprang to his feet in alarm. "Kina Balit, what is he doing here? I haven't heard anything about the papal family joining us." "This is the direct descendant of the papal family," declared Kina Balit. Others who witnessed it couldn't help but ask, "Wait, if that's Kina Balit, then why is the papal family present at the Holy Maiden's relic vault?" Suddenly, everyone's gaze turned to Kim Isaac, who was guzzling from a vial filled with poison. "Victory belongs to him." "Oh, so we already know the winner," they thought, as he wore a look of complete satisfaction. Kina Balit looked over at him and mused for a moment. "So this kid is practically guaranteed to become a saint, but that pure hair, could that really be from the papal family? Did they dye it?" Recalling the various hair colors typical of that family, Kina Balit concluded that everyone else in that family had hair the color of dung. After a moment's thought, Kina Balit managed a slight smile and remarked, "There's nothing strange about someone from the papal family showing up at the Holy Maiden's relic vault. After all, the papal family is the leader of all sacred relics. Therefore, the Holy Maiden's relic vault belongs to our family as well." Upon hearing this, Sui Joshua stared blankly. Kina Balit lifted his head, grinned broadly, and shouted, "I'm simply here to reclaim what's mine. What's so strange about that?" Yet, everyone who looked at him thought he was mad rather than normal. He looked on with nothing but scorn and contempt at that arrogant manner of speaking. Indeed, he was from the papal family. Seeing the radiant golden power surrounding Kina Balit, he silently affirmed, "That kid is a bona fide monster. In terms of sacred power alone, he exceeds even a bishop." The number one holy candidate, musing in his discontent, finally spoke up with harsh criticism. "Is this really the best the Joshua family can do, using such crude methods to humiliate your master? How can you call yourselves holy candidates? How pathetic, harassing a mere child. What's admirable about that? Have the guts to challenge an entire family." Everyone was left utterly dumbfounded. Thus, Kina Balit steadily advanced toward him, remarking, "A baby is utterly incapable of resisting poison." Then she knelt down and looked at him with a joyful smile. "Clearly, she's protected by the holy woman's power." All I could see was pity. Her family regarded him as nothing but foolish. Kina Balit concentrated her energy in her palm, mistakenly purifying it. "Oh, poor thing, don't worry, I'll detoxify the kid." Everyone at that meal was taken aback. He can already use holy magic to neutralize poison. Just look at the magnitude of his sacred power. It's at least level 5, impressive as it is. That look in his eyes told me that damn kid was up to no good. "Planning to use me to show off your skills? You're really clever, I admit." But while Kina Balit is still flaunting her power, Da cheerfully slapped him, and the flow of holy power instantly vanished. While his face was still swollen from the slap, someone immediately shouted, "The holy power is gone." That left Kina Balit utterly astonished as she stared at him. At that moment, he happily dropped his guard, exclaiming, "Dada." Meanwhile, Kina Balit couldn't believe her eyes. She thought, "My holy power nullified by a kid like him? That's impossible. Is he stronger than me?" Kina Balit wondered, trembling as her face contorted in shock. Then, in anger, he glared at him as the little worm of Joshua slowly began crawling away. Seeing that, he too became enraged, crushing a bottle in his hand and glaring threateningly at Kina Balit. "What are you looking at, you little brat? Ha, 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 I'm gonna use this bottle to smash your head." Before he could finish his sentence, he was suddenly grabbed in an embrace by Sui Joshua. "Don't do that," and the slap inadvertently flew straight into Sui Joshua's face. Witnessing that, everyone was shocked and frightened. "Hey, he's guarding it because they're family, right? Slapping the one who's trying to help him is downright disrespectful." Kina Balit, seeing all this, could only stand there dumbfounded. Everyone started chattering among themselves at the sight of the physical clash. They really thought they stood a chance against the papal family. He seriously believed he could protect it. Try breaking free from Sui Joshua's grasp. You fools, if it weren't for me, you'd already be beaten to a pulp. After witnessing this fascinating scene, Kina Balit was rather amused. Not bad, I've caught him off guard. After all, he's just a kid. The kid then waved at everyone and slowly turned to leave, not forgetting to jeer, farewell, Joshua's brats, at least try to salvage some dignity for your family. While Sui Joshua was struggling to hold on to Kim Isaac, he himself glared furiously at Kina Balit. The kid simply turned around to remind everyone, naturally, the finest treasure here belongs to me. Even the family members wouldn't dare approach the corpse of the Dry Demon King, and that news struck him like lightning. Meanwhile, the kid departed, leaving behind a sneering smile. Sui Rose Sway, watching Kina Balit leave, was utterly puzzled. What a troublesome kid, stirring up so much commotion. Just as he was about to speak, his sleeve was suddenly grabbed. In his frenzy, he shouted, Zaza Zie, damned whitehead, what are you saying? Sui Joshua, wondering what had provoked him, roared before collapsing in defeat. He kept on assaulting, demanding, spit it out, what did they say about the corpse of the Dry Demon King? Meanwhile, Sui Joshua lay on the floor, pleading, what's happening? Don't drag me along. In his panic, Sui Joshua blurted out what he'd been seeking for so long. The master promised to bestow secret techniques on whoever brings him the corpse of the Dry Demon King. Hearing that, he was struck like lightning, breaking out in a sweat. Helplessly, he crumpled onto the floor, sweat pouring down as he cursed, damn it, Lisa. He ran a hand over his head, thinking of that dry skeleton wrapped in ribbons, idly luxuriating, and it drove him absolutely mad. How dare you toy with my corpse? Meanwhile, everyone chattered noisily about their misfortunes. Sui Joshua sat in a corner, lost in thought about life, while he writhed in anger. After a moment, he stared up at the sky in a daze, deep in contemplation. A grim skeleton appeared, and in that moment he realized he had accumulated mana equivalent to centuries in his body. If he could harness it, reaching level 10 would be no issue at all. But now these kids were on high alert everywhere, leaving no chance to retrieve it. That intimidating gaze he fixed on everyone sent them into a panic for reasons they couldn't fathom. While Sui Joshua continued to worry, sitting there motionless, he, frustrated, hurled the bottle into a corner and consoled himself, never mind, if anyone stands in my way, just trample them down. Just then, a voice rang out, summoning everyone and capturing his attention. The elder slowly stood among the children and said, everyone, we're about to depart, so listen carefully to what I have to say. And so he began recounting a tale that captivated the children. This treasury of relics is a sacred sanctuary that houses the relics of ancient saints. Observing all this, he felt nothing but disdain, thinking, how long must we stay here? I'm bored to death. Disgusted, he left for somewhere else, leaving a parting message, I'm out of here. This made Sui Joshua jump in shock and get up to chase after him, shouting, hey, you. Get out of here, he commanded as he planted his feet and assumed his stance. Suddenly, he vanished in a flash, sending a cloud of dust into the air and forcing everyone to cover their eyes. The elder, who was in the middle of his story, had to stop when he witnessed that bizarre scene. Sui Joshua looked ahead and cried out, Elder Isaac is. At that moment, he chuckled merrily and took off like the wind. It was time to use the holy technique he had just mastered. So unexpectedly, the elder couldn't stop him and could only exclaim, Isaac, that's a forbidden area. Block that bastard again. And so, before everyone's eyes, he soared off like a bird and vanished, forcing everyone to give chase. At the grand banquet hall of the Zhuja clan, everyone stood there, not daring to relax. Aisley placed a hand over his chest, anxiously murmuring, I hope the young master is still all right, while Riley Joshua silently leaned against a pillar, waiting. At that moment, someone announced, we've established a connection with the interior of the relic treasury. The spirit beasts following the candidate in third place will provide us with the necessary information. The door to the first relic treasury has opened, and the candidates are now entering. Riley Joshua, hearing this, couldn't help but worry, have they already gone in? Then the announcements for each contestant began one after another. The candidate in third place is Amo, Simon cheered, exclaiming, my son. In second place is Sui Joshua. That unexpected announcement caused Gaul Joshua to momentarily lose connection, prompting him to ask her, before he replied, that's my son. And in first place is Iraq Zosha. While Isaac was announcing, suddenly 7 voices erupted, leaving the two puzzled. Then, using his super speed, he dashed over to the two, while the poor elder, Isaac the turtle, struggled to keep up due to his age. Old and weak, barely able to breathe, all he could do was shout, "Isaac, please, not that way. If you continue in that direction, you'll trigger it." Before he could finish speaking, his legs had already stepped into a trap. This made the elder freeze in shock, and Sui Joshua, upon seeing the scene, could only cry out, "Elder." Mechanisms were activated one after another by the other children. There were not only massive axes for slashing but also a series of explosions. The explosions made the kids scream in alarm. "Oh my god, sorry, save me." Sui Joshua, without naming anyone, shouted while giving his all to run for his life. "This DN guy, why did you barge in and cause all this chaos?" The challenge of the archive was already life-threatening, and now we must also avoid the traps laid out for intruders. He focused solely on sprinting ahead, even as others tried to block his path. DA, here's the door to the second archive." As he slowly reached it, a notification rang out, "Second set activated." As he was entering the secondary door of the second archive, Sui Joshua frantically shouted, "Isaac, don't go in there." Phi-Tham, smiling broadly, flew over and praised, "Incredible, Master. Thanks to the mana you absorbed in the annex, I've been upgraded. Great, now I can make people work even harder." After hearing that, all he could mutter was two words, "Damn it." On the verge of success, he immediately ordered Phi-Tham, "Now go and capture them all." Tham promptly replied, "Right away, sir." Phi-Tham flew off toward the group of children. At that moment, someone remarked, "I never thought it would be this hard." Then, suddenly, he was hoisted up, leaving everyone puzzled about why. The others, envious, began scrambling and exclaiming, "How can he fly like that? His clan must have taught him. That's totally unfair." Little did anyone know, you were utterly powerless, resigned to your fate, silently weeping inside. "No, you fools, they never teach you that." While Phi-Tham was binding you and murmuring, Sui Joshua pleaded, "Tham, I'm floating here uncontrollably, please put me down." Phi-Tham cheerfully announced, "Master, I've captured the informant," and then, without hesitation, tossed you to the ground. He sat there, grinning at the sight. Sui Joshua, tossed so hard that he was injured and bleeding, angrily yelled, "Stop this madness right now." I don't know how anyone managed to pass the first trial of the Tianming archive recruitment, but from the second archive onward, one mistake could be fatal. You must face your fears and choose the arduous path to further hone your sensitivity. Fed up with all that drivel, he then zapped Sui Joshua, whose scowling silence seemed to say, "You're too noisy." Seeing that you had passed out, utterly spent, he set off on his adventure thinking, "Forget it, who cares what's inside the second archive?" Just as Sui Joshua managed to remind him, "Once you've entered the archive, absolutely do not attack the enemies, got it? Don't attack them." He listened, not understanding a word, and even retorted, "What are you babbling? Why am I not allowed to attack the enemies? Can't you see they are just charging in recklessly?" This infuriated Sui Joshua, who exclaimed, "That's the only way to get through the second archive. No matter what appears, just stand still for 3 minutes until they vanish. I'm telling you, if we don't understand this, both of us are going to die." And you, looking up at the sky, ignoring everything and only trusting yourself, what a load of nonsense. You're really testing the patience of the devil. Sui Joshua, in pain, struggled to sit up and continued, "Someone has actually died because of this, yet you don't care at all. You just keep crawling forward, saying Duda will be fine, it's that simple." Crawling ahead, he reached the door, glanced at you, and said, "Daha, all you need is a bit of effort, right? Hadu, 3 minutes is no big deal." So, when you touched the door, it lit up with a golden glow and announced the important message, "Welcome to floor 8. Patience is a virtue and a sign of cool rationality. Remain calm and steadfast, unwavering." You accepted these words with an expression of boundless innocence, and your patience will guide you toward the light. Elsewhere, the sound of footsteps slowly echoed. For children were trying to make their way further inside. At that moment, one of them, fearful, asked, "You sure everything's fine?" "We're at the end, aren't we?" Kina Balit confidently affirmed, "There's no reason for us to take the dangerous path ahead. After all, even meat shields can do that for us. And you've forgotten that a level 8 demon is standing at the entrance of the second storage room. Surely those ahead will get trapped there." That only reassured everyone even more. Kina Balit pointed ahead and cheerfully said, "Everyone, did you see that?" The brilliant golden lights emanating from the end of the corridor left them astonished. Kina Balit stared straight ahead and declared, "The trial has begun." From Kim Isaac's perspective, the door had gradually finished opening. He looked at the scene before him with discontent, while Sui Joshua, struggling to regain his strength, muttered, don't get distracted. A familiar figure, and a pair of well-known ears, gradually emerged. And unexpectedly, the curly-haired deities appeared, bestowing blessings as they intoned, "Your patience will guide you to the light." And if the deities hadn't managed to bestow their blessings, you would have already racked up karmic debt by generating electricity before that terrifying appearance. What the hell was that? Mind you, it's only been 3 seconds. He was angry, and dragging Sui Joshua along in this situation left you utterly terrified. Recalling the claim that 3 minutes wouldn't matter, you couldn't help but regret it. Oh my god. Then you burst into tears and screamed at the top of your lungs, "You're absolutely insane." Whispering as you advanced to observe, the door suddenly turned pitch black and slammed shut. He clenched his fists in anger and exclaimed, "How can we possibly be patient after having seen the face of a deity?" Even the murmurers off to the side agreed, 3 seconds is more than enough. The door turned black as it slowly opened, proclaiming, "You have failed. For those who cannot endure, let the sacred punishment rain down upon you." A massive figure appeared before the two, roaring menacingly. At that moment, Sui Joshua, resigned to his fate, could only wait for death to come. Meanwhile, you were channeling a red glow into your palm. You extended your arm, allowing those beams of light to concentrate their lethal power. Then, you unleashed a blast that sent the monstrous being tumbling, leaving it no choice but to scream. Sui Joshua hasn't died yet.